What if you got reincarnated in another world where you're the only boy amongst endless, thirsty girls? It's just another regular day in school as we see our hero, a young boy who can't take his eyes off a cute girl in his class. He says that sometimes he doesn't even notice that he's looking at this girl, and it's probably because he seems to have intrusive thoughts for her. However, it turns out that our hero and this girl have been friends right since they were kids, which means that they're pretty much like brother and sister now. Of course, since they've grown up with each other, our hero believed that he would never do anything that would mess up the relationship he had with this girl. He's in an intense train of thought, but that's when his buddy wakes him up from his trance. We learn that the girl's name is Nishina, and our hero is called out for being a little creepy. However, he tells his buddy to shut up because he doesn't want his intrusive thoughts to be exposed. Even so, he is teased because not every boy has the chance to grow up with a cute girl when they are small. Their jealousy is understandable, but our hero defends himself by saying that he and Nishina don't even get along that well for them to be considered best friends or anything. The topic of their chat shifts to the bag our hero has got with him at school. It turns out that he is an active student in a kendo class, but it's not for his own personal growth as such. Basically, his dad just wants him to learn kendo and judo so that he can defend himself if he is ever under any kind of danger. It's not that safety is an issue for him, but he figures he might as well learn the fighting styles so that he can attack his useless boss or coworker when he grows up and gets a job. It's not a very heroic goal, but the boy is fine with it. We also learn that his dad makes video games for a living, but before this thought process goes any further, our hero is alerted by something odd and mysterious. It turns out to be some kind of monster figure who has a pot on its head. We finally learn that our hero's name is Yuta, but it comes at a rather unfortunate time because the monster suddenly pops up next to him. The pot on its head is actually its face, which looks disgusting and scary as it tries to choke Yuta, and not in a good way. He tries his best to resist, but the monster is way too strong for him, and it pushes Yuta to the edge of the window. Everyone starts to panic upon this sight, as nothing can be done for our hero, and he laments that he was never able to tell Nishina his true feelings. With that, Yuta is thrown to the ground, and all hope seems lost for our tragic hero. However, it's at this very moment when an angel drops by and connects with his soul. Yuta wakes up inside a forest at night, but he still has no idea what has happened to him. He thinks that he's still in school and was able to survive the fall because of his martial arts training. There's no one around him, so he picks up his phone to call his dad, but there's no network as well. From the looks of it, our hero seems to have been taken to another world. Yuta slowly starts to understand his surroundings and wonders if he's in the middle of the mountains. He figures he must be away from his town, so he just needs to walk for a bit and he'll get cell service in no time. However, he's in for a total shocker because when he does see some lights, they just happen to be coming from a giant castle. On top of that, the castle is surrounded by flying beasts that look a lot like dragons. As one would expect, dragons do not exist in Japan. This is a bit too much for Yuta to process, and he tries to figure where he is at this moment. He goes on to look up at the sky and notices that it's purple in color. Not just that, there's a red moon as well as a blue moon in this world. Yuta finally realizes that he's not on Earth anymore, but at the same time, he's not too sure if he's been reincarnated too, because he's still in the same body he had when he was on Earth. It's bad enough for Yuta to deal with his new reality, and then he hears some people coming towards him. Luckily, it just happens to be a cute girl and her bird friend who seems to be able to talk. This is all it takes for Yuta to be convinced that he's been reincarnated in a fantasy world. This girl happens to be a knight, and she stares at our hero with doubt because she hasn't seen him from around here. The funny thing is that the knight girl looks a lot like Nishina, so this could be Yuta's chance to strike gold and finally act on all those intrusive thoughts he's been having for so long. The knight girl introduces herself as Lumi, who is a paladin of the Caesar kingdom. She then asks Yuta to identify himself, and since he doesn't want to look shady, our hero proceeds to give his full name. He even claims that people like to call him the Sun, but his cringy words don't have much of an effect on Lumi. Instead, she is taken away by Yuta's voice because it seems to do something to her. She starts to murmur some words, and her bird friend also seems to sense something odd about this whole thing. Of course, none of this makes any sense to Yuta, so he tries to keep the situation calm. Lumi draws out her sword almost as if she's going to arrest Yuta, so he declares that he's not the person she's looking for. However, in a sudden twist, Lumi reveals that she's shocked because Yuta is a man. He has no idea what she means by that, so he asks Lumi if men are not allowed in this area. He even asks her if she worships a god that hates men, but all she can do is blush for now. Yuta notices that her face has gone red, so he asks Lumi if she's alright. However, she tells him to shut up and oddly accuses him of being the culprit behind his own appearance. Yuta is clueless as ever, and that's when Lumi asks her bird friend if she can take his life. This is not good news for our hero, but luckily for him, the bird friend tells Lumi that she needs to keep Yuta alive. The bird friend also has a name, and it happens to be Genius, which makes sense, given his powers to speak the human language. Genius asks Yuta if he has come from Earth, and this gives him some hope. He continues to refer to Genius as a bird and asks if he knows about Earth. But this makes Lumi upset, and she scolds Yuta for not treating Genius with the respect he deserves. She also says that Genius is a god and wouldn't taste good even if you tried cooking him. But that doesn't make sense because Yuta doesn't want to eat him. Yuta proceeds to call out Lumi for sounding ruder than he was. Before their chat can move ahead, some strange substance falls off a tree and is about to land on Yuta. Luckily, Lumi saves him, and it leads to a rather romantic moment. Sadly for our hero, Lumi doesn't look at it the way he would like her to, and smashes his face out of cute shyness. She accuses Yuta of being a creep and says that she should have let the strange substance hit him instead. Lumi states that Yuta is just here to pass his time with lewd acts and draws out her sword again. She declares that she hates all men and is about to attack our hero, but then she experiences a wet sensation. Basically, she starts gushing out fluids from her body without any control, and Yuta can only watch her in confusion. Genius decides to make things simple for Yuta and says that Lumi is currently going through a stage called the Springs of Lust. This is something that happens when the women of this world feel the need to breed. Of course, this makes Yuta feel like a playboy, but he doesn't want to act too proud, so he asks Lumi why she's on heat, even though she just claimed to hate men. This only angers the night girl, and she chokes Genius for saying something so silly in front of a total stranger. She even calls him a stupid bird, so Yuta calls her out because she just said that Genius was like a god. Lumi can't take the torture any longer, so she scolds Yuta for looking down on her. As a matter of fact, she claims that she could never even bring herself to like a man such as our hero, let alone wanting to breed with him. Yuta is a smart boy, so he simply holds Lumi's fingers to make her excited again. It works so well that Lumi starts to do unspeakable things to the fingers that Yuta had just touched, and she goes crazy with desire. Genius feels awkward because this is taking things too far, and he tries to calm Lumi down before she totally loses it. However, that's when a dragon monster shows up and charges at Lumi, who calls it a lizard for some strange reason. She is unable to bring out her sword at the right time, and the dragon knocks it out of her hand to gain the advantage. Genius fears the worst as the dragon is about to rip into Lumi, but that's when Yuta steals the spotlight. He uses Lumi's sword to attack the dragon, and he manages to cause a serious injury to the beast. Our hero is able to do this because of all the kendo classes he had taken back on Earth. He then returns Lumi's sword and asks her never to drop it again because it goes against the rules of kendo. He also leaves the dragon to be slain by the night girl because he is only an amateur in kendo for now. the dragon charges at our hero once again. But Lumi is ready this time, and she unleashes the full might of her sword to blow the monster away. Yuta is shocked to see how much power the sword has, but Lumi is even more surprised by his heroic efforts. She wants to know why he saved her, and he simply says that he doesn't need a reason to rescue cute and curvy babes. Yuta drops one more line on how it's a man's job to keep women safe, and this makes Lumi even more excited. She is unable to control her own beastly urges, so she unleashes herself upon our hero and attacks him with passion and desire. It's Yuta's first time doing such a thing, but Lumi can't be stopped anymore, and she takes control of his body. Genius can only watch them from a tree like a creep as Lumi proceeds to violate Yuta with her massive thirst. Our hero has no idea what's causing all this heat, but that's when Genius reveals that there are no men in this planet. As a matter of fact, the giant castle ahead is filled with nothing but cute girls. Since there are no human men in this world, the women can't control themselves around one. And since Yuta is the first man to have set foot into this world, he must now live a life dedicated to serving their needs. Of course, our hero wants answers, but for that, he will first need to satisfy Lumi, because she is not going to talk until her needs are fulfilled. Yuta has no other choice but to give in, and Genius says that this will be the first human mating session in over 30 centuries. Of course, this is a lot of pressure on him, and Lumi is also surprised to learn that humans can mate just like animals. Since Lumi is asking for his passion, our hero decides to do her proud, so he begins with his violation. Lumi is taken aback by his intentions and starts to feel shy. But that doesn't deter Yuta, so he asks her to present herself. She hesitates in doing so, but Yuta tells her that he won't be able to give her what she wants if she doesn't show him what he wants. After a bit of chatting, the two lovers finally get down to business, and it's a rather intense display of passion. The feeling is very new to both Lumi and Yuta because neither of them has done such acts before. Eventually, our hero pulls out the power of his tongue and goes to town on Lumi. This results in such a powerful explosion that the night girl passes out from satisfaction. Yuta slowly figures what he's just done, but for some reason, he also passes out next to her. In the middle of all this, we see Genius, who has been watching the whole thing from a tree like a shady creep. It might be that he likes to flap his wings to people getting freaky with each other. The night passes by, and it's daytime now in the fantasy world. Yuta wakes up from his sleep and looks around for Lumi, but is unable to find her. After a bit of looking around, he notices Lumi, who is hiding her face inside a tree trunk. She is clearly shy after the events of last night, and our hero is glad that she has gone back to normal. However, her going into heat was a serious matter, and Yuta also wonders if Lumi's bodily fluids have some sort of narcotic effect. That would have been able to explain why he had dozed off to sleep right after the nasty business he did with the night girl. Lumi is still not ready to show her face, but due to the events of the previous night, Yuta is able to see a lot more than what she would like to show. He tells her about it and proceeds to crack a joke, which is very funny to him, but clearly doesn't have the same effect on Lumi. She pulls her head out of the trunk and lands a direct hit on Yuta's face. She can't take the embarrassment anymore, so she pulls out her sword and is ready to end it all. However, Yuta calls her out and says that he doesn't need to be punished just because she wasn't able to control her passion. After all, Lumi was the one who attacked him with shady intentions, not the other way around. In the middle of this argument, we see Genius once again, who isn't really doing anything to stop the comical situation in front of him. Luckily, nothing serious happens, and the duo decides to make their way to town. However, on their way, Lumi states that it would be too risky to have a human male in the town. In order to keep Yuta's gender a secret, she decides to take him to the stray elf store. It's a bit confusing for Yuta, but Lumi explains that her world has not seen a human man for thousands of years. It's almost as if men are beasts of legend, so if one of them were to show up right now, It would put the world in a state of chaos. This makes sense to Yuta, but what he really wants to know is how he got here in the first place. He can only remember the angel girl who had come to collect him right after he was thrown to the ground by the scary monster. Our hero wonders what his role is in this world, and he also needs to find a way back to Earth. Before he can think any further, Yuta and Lumi reach the stray elf store. From the looks of it, this shop looks like a scam because there's a shady clearance sale going on, and the signs look rather suspicious. Yuta doesn't even feel like entering the shop. But then he notices that the signs are in the Japanese kanji language. That shouldn't be the case if this is a parallel world. And that's when it strikes our hero that he's been talking to Lumi this whole time, which means she can also speak Japanese. When he asks her about it, Lumi simply states that she's speaking the Caesarean language. She also realizes that Yuta can speak the same language as her. But this chat isn't going to bring any answers, so the couple enters the shop. Genius isn't here, so Yuta becomes a little suspicious. But Lumi says that it's fine because Genius is of a casual nature. Lumi is welcomed by a cat girl, and it makes Yuta question the types of people in this world. He doesn't think that the cat girl is a stray elf, but Lumi says this is what they look like. The cat girl is called Sayuri, and she is known for selling all kinds of goods that can't be found anywhere else. Yuta still isn't convinced that Sayuri is an elf because of her ears, so Lumi argues with him. But they get interrupted by the cat girl notices that Yuta is a human male. She gives a rather shady look while saying this, and our hero is surprised to see how easily he was found out. Of course, the main thing about a human male is the voice, so Yuta wants to know why it's such a big deal. Sayuri reveals that the voice matches that of the call, who seem to be this world's natural enemy, as per Lumi's words. Sayuri also states that she gets a lot of customers who wear the exact same uniform that Yuta is wearing. But the only difference is that none of them are human males. Without further ado, Sayuri gives Yuta a piece of candy and says that he should eat it if he wants to change his voice. Our hero is told that he will sound just like a girl if he eats this candy, so he proceeds to do so, but hates the taste of the candy. None of that matters because he now has a cute girl's voice and Lumi seems to love it. Our hero figures that he's just been given some helium, but neither of the girls know what that is. Sayuri gives Lumi 1 week's worth of candy, and the night girl wants to buy more stuff. But she has no money, so she has to put it on her tab. After a swift shopping session, Yuta is made to dress up as a girl, and he comments that he's gotten into some serious cross-dressing. Who knows, he might just end up liking it. Lumi doesn't know what that means, and it makes sense because there are no men in this world. Once again, Lumi repeats that Yuta can't let anyone know that he's a human male because it can disrupt the order of her world. It can also put Yuta's life in danger, so he agrees to keeping his identity a secret to avoid becoming a slave. Lumi asks him to make one more promise to her, which is to never touch a girl. This is because girls will be able to sense our hero's manhood just by touching him, which is what had happened to Lumi earlier. Yuta knows he can't awaken so many hidden beasts of passion, so he agrees to this condition as well. It's not much of an issue for Yuta because he's used to being a loner on Earth due to his awkward behavior. However, his stories don't make any sense to Lumi because she has no idea of how people function on Earth. As the duo heads to the town, Lumi tells Yuta that he should not wander around in the forest because there are a lot of monsters, just like the dragon from earlier. She also tries to make him feel lucky by saying her paladin status allows her to protect beginners like Yuta. Lumi continues with her praises, but she is made to eat her own words when she steps into a huge pile of dragon poop. The night girl lets out a huge cry due to the smelly poop, but Yuta thinks she's being extra. Paladins shouldn't be so easy to mess with, but Lumi is just a girl at the end of the day, so our hero teases her some more by saying she smells. He continues to tease the night girl till they make their way to the town's wall. It's quite big, so Yuta wonders what it's trying to protect the town from. Suddenly, Lumi orders the doors to open, and that's exactly what happens, much to our hero's surprise. A couple of little girls show up and are happy to see Lumi return from the forest. They look at Yuta and ask about him, so Lumi says he's a girl she found in the forest. The Night Girls reveals that the twins are named Mona and Lisa, and they know everything about this world, so Yuta can ask them whatever he wants. The twins are known for being honest, and they show this immediately when they tell Lumi how much she stinks. Yuta is pleased to hear this, and the twins take it a step further by blatantly insulting the smell coming from Lumi's body. Now, we meet a girl named Lilia, who is pleased to see Lumi again, because she grew worried when the Night Girl didn't come back from scouting. Lumi gives her the same story, but Lilia is more concerned about the horrid smell coming from her body. With no face left to show, Lumi goes to take a bath and leaves the rest to Lilia. She decides to offer a nice meal to Yuta, but the twins first tell him about how Lilia is the best archer in their world. They also tell Yuta to respect Lilia and Lumi because they are the ones keeping this town safe. However, Lilia tells them to stop being rude, and then she takes Yuta out for a tour of the town. As our hero looks around the place, he is surprised that no one has seen through his female disguise. However, since nobody here knows what a man looks like, it makes sense that nobody can recognize Yuta. He also notices that the town looks like a historic ruin because there has not been any maintenance or repair work done. Women aren't good with such jobs, so he figures that's the reason behind this. Lilia offers some cold tea to Yuta, which shocks him because it's the complete opposite of his culture on Earth. Anyway, our hero does a quick scan on Lilia and states that she does not have the same appeal as Lumi, probably because of her flat body. She also has short hair, which does not make her worthy of his desire. Lilia notices Yuta starting at her chest, so she asks if there's anything on it. Our hero acts sassy and says that there's nothing on it at all. He then introduces himself, but uses the male pronouns of the Japanese language, which confuses Lilia. She asks for clarity, but Yuta brushes it off as a casual remark. In the middle of this chat, our hero spills some tea on himself, so Lilia offers to clean it up for him. He decides not to go ahead with that, but Lilia gets up and holds his hand to see how wet his clothes have become. Of course, this is not what Yuta should have allowed, and now Lilia can sense his manliness take over her body. She goes crazy and falls to the ground, which clearly makes Yuta worried for his own safety. Just as he had feared, even Lilia is now in heat, and there's nothing he can do to stop it. Lilia rolls around the floor, unable to control her urges, while Yuta just looks at her without a clue in the world. She tries to figure what's happening to her body and tries to keep herself calm, but the fluids inside her have other plans. Yuta casually asks her if she's fine, and Lilia starts to worry about being judged by him. Of course, women need to do something to keep their desires in check, but to show it to someone else is out of the question. Lilia is confused at first, but it doesn't take long for her to figure out that Yuta is a boy, because she went crazy only after touching him. Our hero realizes that he's messed up right from the start, even though he was warned against this. He doesn't deny what Lilia claims, and this gives her proof that she is in front of a real human boy. She goes close to Yuta and touches his face because she has only seen men in books so far. Our hero becomes alert when he hears this, but he has bigger fish to fry at the moment. Lilia can't hold her urges any longer and unleashes a fierce attack on Yuta's tongue. He starts to feel drowsy due to her fluids, just like he did when he got with Lumi. Things are about to get heated up, but then Lumi returns from her shower and proudly announces that she is now smelling fresh like flowers. Luckily, both Yuta and Lilia have managed to cover up and are sitting normally at the table. Lilia is having a hard time controlling herself, so Yuta creates a distraction and asks Lumi to show him to the toilet. He is then taken to his room, which is small, but looks good enough for him. Yuta asks for something to eat, which makes Lumi suspicious because he was taken to the restaurant by Lilia. He awkwardly says that he only had tea, so Lumi decides to get him some food. However, It only turns out to be a mixture of fruits and vegetables, which is what girls usually like to eat. Our hero doesn't like the meal, so Lumi asks him if he has a problem. He can't really complain, because he'd much rather eat this than dragon meat. Now, it's time to learn more about the kingdom of Caesar. So Yuta learns that he's in the city of Meath, which is one of 5 cities in the kingdom, along with a giant castle. There are only women living in these places, so that means Yuta is the only man in this population. The mere thought of this makes Lumi excited, and our hero can smell the fluids pouring from her body. He calls her out on her desires and gets scolded because Lumi feels shy. She decides to walk out of the room, but Yuta asks her a very important question. He wants to know how people are born in this world if only women exist in it. It's a fair point, but even Lumi doesn't have an answer to that. All that she knows is that children come out of the main castle, but they don't have any memories of the time they spent there. This gives Yuta a lot to think about, and he continues to assess the kingdom's facilities. He didn't expect any electricity, but there aren't any candles over here either. It's not much of a problem because the planet has 2 moons. But what really bothers Yuta is the story he just heard about the castle and the children coming out of it. He feels there's something shady going on inside the castle and wants to get to the bottom of it. He can't do much for now, so he just chills in bed and thinks about what he did to Lilia. Unlike Lumi, she seemed like a serious girl, so our hero feels bad for making her go into heat. He figures that he should be more careful and not let other girls touch him. But then he hears knocking on the door. He opens it and is shocked to see Lilia standing in front of him. Our hero tries to apologize for what happened earlier, but Lilia is here to solve another problem, which is her fountain of youth. Before we get into the details of what happens next, we are taken to a flashback where we see Lilia going through some books. Lumi walks in and comments on how diligent Lilia is when it comes to reading. She reveals that she's not really into the reading part, but is more interested in the pictures. Her reason is that she wants to learn how people lived in the past so that it can help her live in the present. It turns out that Lilia can't actually read the words in the book because the people of this world have forgotten their letters. It would have been great to know these letters because the books would be very useful to the women then. However, Lumi reveals that there are just too many books to read, and they won't be able to complete them, even if they knew the letters. Lumi then tells Lilia that it's good to study, but she must not miss the quintet meeting because their leader Isekai'd gets very upset if anyone shows up late. Lilia agrees to show up to the meeting, and then Lumi leaves, but that's when we learn Lilia's true motives. She is not at all into studying, but she likes to look at the pictures of men in the book because it makes her full of desire. After all, men did live in the past, and that's why Lilia is so interested in them. This explains what she was saying to Yuta as well, and we can see Lilia express her desire to engage in shady acts by quenching her thirst all alone in the library. This brings us back to the present, where Lilia is now in front of a human male and can finally do unspeakable things like she had wanted to all her life. It's a very sudden thing for Lilia, and she's trying her best to fight her desires. But it's of no use, and she is completely helpless. She asks Yuta to help her deal with this issue, and our hero can smell the desire flowing from her body. It's actually stronger than Lumi's, but the whole thing makes Yuta confused. He has never done the nasty with girls before, so he asks Lilia to go and take care of herself. She says that she had done that multiple times, but it wasn't able to satisfy her cravings for him. Yuta comments that women will always be women, and Lilia suddenly realizes that she has revealed what she does to herself. This makes her feel embarrassed, but Yuta finds it cute, so he asks her what she wants him to do. Of course, Lilia states that the books had spoken about humans mating, so even she would like to do the same. She sounds full of passion as she says this, and our hero even expected to hear these words. But he is in a tough spot. He explains that humans should only do shady things with the people they like, and it makes Lilia panic. Yuta then states that she just wants to engage with him because he's a man and not because she likes him. His intentions are right, but Lilia takes it the wrong way and starts talking about how he has no reason to like her. Yuta tries to calm her down by saying they don't really know anything about each other, but she says that he already has an endless selection of women to choose from in this world. She then goes into a dramatic phase where she says that it's the end of the road for her. Yuta tries to tell her not to be extra, but she maintains that her reaction is fine. After all, she has just been turned down by the only man in the world. And that's actually quite sad if you think about it. Our hero feels the same way after hearing Lilia explain it to him, because she goes into detail on how horrible it is for her dream to be squished in front of her eyes, even after it came true. This only makes her fluids stronger, and the smell starts to mess with Yuta's head. He can't think properly anymore and concedes that the fountain of desire is some kind of narcotic that hinders critical thinking. Now that he is also in the same frame of mind as Lilia, Yuta is prepared to do the nasty once again. He tells Lilia that he is not turning her down, but simply wants to know her better. When she asks how she can make that happen, Yuta says that she will need to show her true self to him. It's a bit much for the cute tomboy to hear, but this is how it has to be if she wants to see her dream come true. She's a little shy, but Yuta says that he's only making her do this because it's what she wants. Our hero goes into sass mode once again and comments on Lilia's body, which makes her feel even more shy. A series of events follows, and it ends with Yuta getting a clear view of what no man has seen before, which makes Lilia all the more nervous about her first time. Despite the intense buildup, Yuta doesn't exactly know where he needs to proceed as he hasn't done the deed before. He is also blinded by the fluids all over the place, so it's hard for him to be exact. The smell is getting too much for him to handle, so he asks Lilia how badly she wanted to breed for her to be in this much heat. As the tension rises, Yuta jokes around by saying he never thought of Lilia this way, because she looked too serious for that kind of stuff. After a bit of chatter, he gets down to business, and the dark setting of night serves as the right background for such lewd acts. While Yuta uses the power of his tongue to subdue his latest fan, we see Lumi in her room wondering if her lover boy is sleeping fine in his new home. It is clear that she also wants to be with him, but she can't be so honest with Yuta just yet because she's only just met him. Of course, she tries to fight her feelings for a bit, but then she remembers what Yuta said about it being a man's duty to protect women, since she can't lose control again. Lumi makes a face on her pillow and calls it the Yuta pillow. It still smells like her, so she decides to go ask Yuta to rub some of his scent on the pillow. Meanwhile, Yuta conquers Lilia with his finisher move, but she manages to stay awake, unlike Lumi, who had passed out after the session. Our hero reveals that he also did this to the night girl, and it makes Lilia a little jealous because she thought she was his first. She has now experienced something very different, and she doesn't think that she can live without Yuta anymore. Our hero is thrilled to hear this and says that he is ready to take things further with Lilia. However, he doesn't realize that Lumi has also walked into the room and is seeing this sight with her own eyes. Before we move on with this scandalous revelation, we are given a brief summary on the events that have passed. Mostly, it's all about our hero Yuta being sent to a parallel world, which is like a paradise to him because he's the only man here. He's already gained favor with two pretty girls in Lumi and Lilia. But the main problem for him now is that Lumi has walked in on him and Lilia doing the nasty. Luckily, this happens just before the mating session, so our hero's purity is still intact to a certain extent. Even so, this is not a good situation for Yuta, as he has been caught with another woman. Just like any other man, he also tries to explain his actions to Lumi in awkward fashion. But to his surprise, she doesn't react angrily to the discovery. She simply says that Yuta can enjoy himself if he wants because he is the only man in the world right now. Our hero is just as confused as Lilia, but Lumi explains that Yuta belongs to all the women of this world. Yuta feels bad about what has happened, but Lumi walks out of the room to allow her lover boy to complete his mating with Lilia. However, Lilia dresses up and chases after Lumi in the streets. She finally catches up to her and asks the night girl if she knew about Yuta being a boy. Lumi says yes and explains that she wanted to keep quiet about it in order to avoid any chaos in the world. Now, Lilia says that she's no good because she's touched Yuta and can't think about anything else. She's been going crazy ever since she found out about a man being in her world, and says sorry for losing control of her urges. Lumi asks her not to be this way because her passion could not be helped in front of a man. She even goes on to confess what she did with Yuta, and says that she's been feeling the same way ever since. As a matter of fact, Lumi was the one who wanted to keep Yuta a secret, so she feels a little selfish for doing so, since she wanted her lover boy all to herself. Maybe this was Lumi's fault all along. Lilia shows some compassion towards her peer, but it's getting dark now, so the girls decide to talk about Yuta the next day. With that, both Lumi and Lilia walk away, but we can see that our hero has been sneakily listening to their chat on the side. Lumi goes back to her room, still holding her Yuta pillow from earlier. However, there is sadness on her face, and we all know why. Soon enough, she throws the Yuta pillow on the floor and punches it out of anger. With that, Lumi can finally express her true emotions as she continues to punch the pillow with tears rolling out of her eyes. She is clearly upset with Yuta for cheating on her, which means that Lumi might just be falling in love with him. Meanwhile, we can see Yuta lying in bed thinking about what he's just done. Of course, if this was the real world of Earth, it would have a whole other thing, but it's just a fantasy place as of now. What our hero doesn't get is that he's feeling depressed over his actions, even though he doesn't need to feel that way. After all, it's not like he's going out with either Lumi or Lilia. There is no commitment, but Yuta is still upset with himself because he has no idea what he's going to do in this world. He thinks long and hard about what a man can do in a world filled with women. After some intense thoughts, he can only come up with a conclusion that his sole reason for being here is to live the dream by doing shady things with all the girls. He passes out in the middle of this realization and wakes up the next day feeling hungry. He can't really talk to Lumi or Lilia, so he decides to head into town for a quick bite. As he takes a stroll in the open streets, he is really shocked to only see women everywhere. It's not a normal sight at all for our hero, but this is the way of the world over here. Suddenly, Yuta feels a sense of discomfort, and it's not a social issue arising out of his fear of being around so many women. He can also sense something else which doesn't feel natural. Yuta starts to feel paranoid about what this could be, and that very moment, someone calls out to him from behind. He looks back instantly, but it only happens to be the twin duo of Mona and Lisa. They don't look very happy and confront Yuta about Lumi and Lilia. They ask our hero if he did anything crude with the night girl and the archer girl, but he obviously can't speak the truth, so he simply denies it. Then, the twins tell Yuta that Lumi and Lilia are waiting for him in the library, so he starts to panic. He rushes to the scene and finds the girls, but Lumi starts lashing out at him for being late. She mocks his sleeping needs, but our hero simply says that he can't wake up early unless he has a clock to look at. Lumi just tells him to wake up to the bell ringing, so Yuta agrees to do that moving forward. Now, Lumi tells Yuta that she has discussed what happened last night with Lilia, and the both of them have decided to pretend like it never happened at all. This is because a man has showed up in their world after over 3,000 years, so it's not something that two girls can handle on their own. This news needs to be shared with the other three members of the quintet, so Lumi and Lilia can't afford to expose their secret sessions with Yuta to them. It makes sense to our hero, so he agrees to what Lumi says. He also states that he knows the girls would never do anything to harm him, and tells them both that he believes in them. This makes both Lumi and Lilia blush, but Lumi instantly scolds Yuta for acting like a player. However, she gets interrupted when the other three members of the quintet show up and ask her why she has called for a meeting over here. The other members are just as cute as Yuta's new harem, so he checks them out with eagerness. The girls take a look at Yuta and ask why it was so necessary for them to come and see him. Of course, they don't know that he's a man, so they joke about it. But then Lumi gives them the biggest news of their lives by saying Yuta is indeed a human male and not a girl. As expected, it shocks all the other members of the quintet, and they look on in complete disbelief at our hero, while Lumi and Lilia wait for their anxious words. Of course, now that the room is filled with eager women, our hero is left with no other choice but to disclose his identity to them. We are now introduced to each of the other quintet members, and first up is the guardian Haru, who thinks that Lumi is trying to joke about Yuta. Then, we have the lancer Momo, who is already filling her mind with intrusive thoughts over the prospect of having a man in her presence. Finally, we have the strider Miseki, who is not ready to believe such a thing, especially because the last man in this world passed away over 3,000 years ago. Since there is no other way of knowing the truth, Yuta is told to show what he has not shown any girl before. He is a bit taken aback to hear this, but the women of this world do know that male animals have a certain body part, so even human men should have it. All the girls gang up on Yuta, even though he isn't too keen on showing his manhood, as if he's in an art gallery. Even Lilia urges her lover boy to prove his manliness by showing his hidden elephant. But our hero can't understand why everyone is becoming so excited. He openly says that he does not have any interest in showing off his body. But it's at this very moment when the effect of the voice candy wears off. Yuta is shocked to hear his manly voice, but it's the other quintet women who are more interested in this. He realizes that he had forgotten to take his daily dose of the candy today, and that's why he's become exposed to the quintet. Miseki identifies this voice to be the same as that of the call, and it enrages her because she believes that Yuta is one of them. She takes out her blade and is about to attack our hero, but gets pulled back by the other women. Miseki insists that Yuta is evil and needs to be dealt with, but Haru asks her to calm down. Even then, Miseki asks why Lumi and Lilia would allow someone like Yuta to enter their city. She goes on to say that she must get rid of Yuta, but then Lilia puts her in her place by saying it's only Yuta's voice that's similar to the call. To try and end him simply because of that is not logical at all, because he looks nothing like the call. This shuts up Miseki, who realizes that she has messed up, but at the same time, her ego is too big for her to say sorry. So she simply walks away and says that she will not breathe the same air as a man. This leaves Yuta with the other four girls, and Lilia says that Miseki's hatred for the call is way too strong to be ignored. Our hero states that the call are mentioned a lot in this world, and this is because they are the natural enemies of the women. He also learns that Misaki's sister was attacked and ended by one of the call members, which is why she hates them so much. Anyway, this is not the time to be talking about the past, and Lilia mentions that the real reason Yuta has been brought here is for the quintet to decide what to do with him. The first question is to know if anyone else is aware of a man being present in this world. None of the humans know about Yuta, but then the cat girl Sayuri is brought up. She was the one who gave the candy to Yuta in the first place, but she would never bother going against the humans, so she's a safe option. Haru says that in any normal situation, such news would be taken directly to the queen. But Lumi says that there are a lot of women like Miseki who hate men in this world. The problem is that these women would unleash their hatred towards the call on Yuta for no good reason, and it can lead to a huge mess. Lumi suggests that the best option for now is to keep hiding Yuta as a girl, because it's the only way to keep him safe. Once he gets to learn a bit about this country, he will be able to take a decision on what to do with his life. Our hero agrees with Lumi on this, because he does want to know more about this new place that he's found himself in. After all, if he has a purpose for being reincarnated here, he needs to make sure he performs his duties. The girls are okay with this, but Lumi warns Yuta about forgetting to eat his daily dose of candy. Our hero owns up to his mistake and promises not to do it ever again, after which Momo decides to end the meeting as she has been called to the castle. However, before she leaves the room, she takes one more look at Yuta and says that she's going to have a nice, long chat with him later. She leaves the room, and Yuta looks on in wonder, while Lumi and Lilia show disgust on their faces. Lumi wants to be with her lover boy, so she asks him to come to her room as she wants him to do something for her. Our hero agrees to it, but Lilia becomes alert after hearing Lumi's request. Meanwhile, we see Momo plotting something sinister because she wants to have a monopoly on the first man in this country for over 30 centuries. After all, she is never going to get a chance like this ever again. Now, Yuta is taken to Lumi's room, which is quite big in comparison to his own home. Of course, she is a paladin who is part of the quintet, so it's one of the perks of her job. Yuta wants to know why he's been brought here, and then Lumi shows him the Yuta pillow, which looks a little creepy. He has no idea what's going on, and it only becomes worse when Lumi asks him to hug the pillow for her. Yuta wants to know why he needs to do this, but decides to hug the pillow anyway, because he needs to make up for his affair with Lilia. He asks Lumi if this is okay, and she immediately snatches the pillow away from him. She then pushes our hero out of her room because she doesn't need him anymore. Yuta is confused by her behavior, and then we see Lumi staring at the creepy pillow. She proceeds to hug it with joy because now she finally has something which smells like her lover boy. While Lumi does unspeakable things to the pillow, our hero wonders what that random task was all about. However, he hears someone refer to him as a human male, so he quickly turns around to see who it is. Luckily, it's just Genius, who has finally decided to show himself again, and also seems to have 3 legs. Clearly, he has a lot going on that Yuta himself is not able to understand. Our hero decides to mock the talking bird for having too much of a rebel spirit, and even compares him to a crow. However, the only thing that Genius wants to tell him is that he still hasn't technically done the deed with any of the girls yet. This is technically true because Yuta's tongue has been more than enough to cause explosions. Our hero maintains that he doesn't want to become a mating machine, but Genius says that it's only natural for him to act out his intrusive thoughts with pretty girls. On top of that, he also mentions that the girls of this world need to do such things when they become adults. If such an action doesn't happen, then they will simply pass away. This shocks Yuta beyond belief, and he lets out a huge scream in discomfort. Our hero is unable to accept such a thing. But then he remembers that uneasy feeling he had earlier when he was walking around town. This feeling came about because he could only see young girls everywhere. Genius goes on to explain that the girls of this world go crazy upon seeing a man because of this very reason. The fountain of passion is designed to lure men into their bodies because it's a means of survival. Yuta asks if all the girls know this fact, and Genius says that they know they will pass away upon becoming adults. However, nobody knows that they will continue to live if they engage with a man, and simply accept their lifespan to be short. Since there has not been a single man in this world for 30 centuries, even Genius did not decide to let this truth reach the girls. It's a sad reality, but Genius says that it's not like Yuta can save tens of millions of girls with his manhood. There's only so much that a man's elephant can do, after all. Despite this, Genius does say that Yuta has the freedom of speech, so he can choose to do whatever he wants with this information. The talking bird flies away, but Yuta asks him to wait because he wants to know if this whole mating survival process is a thing of genetics or something else. Genius changes to an ominous tone and says that it's a curse which has been placed upon this world by the god of deep jealousy. This god is not at all like Genius and is actually quite scary. But if Yuta were to somehow end him, then he will be able to lift the curse as well. This can probably be the reason why our hero was reincarnated in this world in the first place. With that, Genius flies away and leaves our hero to ponder about what he's just learned. If this curse thing is really true, then it means that even Lumi and Lilia will pass away if they don't do shady things with him. Meanwhile, we see Lumi, who is busy showering kisses upon her new Yuta pillow. She continues to enjoy the smell of her lover boy all over the pillow. But then we see Yuta walking into the room and feeling weird about what he's just witnessed. Lumi also realizes that she's been caught and is completely distraught over her actions. She tries to act cool and asks what Yuta wants. So he says he came here looking for food. Lumi tells him to go outside and chew on the weeds, but our hero can see right through her. Lumi feels shy and asks Yuta not to look at her with those eyes. However, our hero asks her if she really likes him. This makes the night girl confused, and she says that she can't really give an answer to that. Yuta maintains that he's the only man in this world, so it makes sense for her to like him. Lumi finally admits that she's happy to have Yuta as the only male in her country, and our hero says that he's thankful to have met Lumi first in this world. She starts to feel the fountain of passion once again, and it only gets more intense when Yuta suggests mating for now. Lumi immediately loses all sense of control and proceeds to get violated by her lover boy. Since there is no protection in this world, our hero also decides to finish his business the old-fashioned way.
Now, before we continue to Yuta violating Lumi, we are taken to a bonus episode where the girls come together for a very special meeting. It is regarding what food they should serve for a birthday celebration. First, Lumi is asked for her opinion, and she says that a special occasion would call for special food. However, to her, special food means a veggie salad because it's good for health. Not a lot of people would agree with this opinion, but it is taken anyway. Next up is Lilia, but she is too busy reading shady things in her book and letting her intrusive thoughts take over. The leader girl Misaki does not like this, so she scolds Lilia for not paying attention when she should. On top of that, there is a strong citrus smell coming from her, and this makes Lilia panic because she knows it's her special water. She quickly brings the discussion back to birthday food and states that the girls should focus on having omu rice. This is because they don't really get to eat something this tasty on a regular basis, so the fluffy eggs will surely leave a strong impression. This is a much better option than the veggie salad, so Lilia's option is the current winner. Next up is Haru, whose face looks like she is ready to end someone. Surprisingly, she decides to go with cake, which is the most normal thing anyone has said in this story so far. For a kid, this is the perfect option, and even Lumi seems to agree with it. Haru states that she is not just suggesting cake because she is personally craving it, but also because the best ingredients mixed together would be perfect for serving kids. However, the fact that her face is drooling does indicate that she would like to have a bite of some cake as well. Everyone knows that Haru has a sweet tooth, so they decide to go ahead with her option without needing any kind of justification. Now, it's Momo's turn to give her suggestion, but strangely enough, she asks why food is necessary for a birthday celebration. She asks the girls to think back to the time they were born in this world. They did not even have the basic sense of taste back then, so it confuses her as to why they want the newer babies to get special food. On that note, Momo says that it would be best to just serve the normal food that everyone eats. No one is going to go bonkers over the flavor as per her opinion. The leader girl Misaki seems to be in agreement with Momo on this as she recalls her own first meal. She was given a nice fluffy cake, which she is sure was delicious, but at the time, the taste did not register with her. Having said that, Misaki does have another point of argument. She realizes that even though she did not understand the taste of the cake, she could not ignore the fact that a lot of precious commodities were used to make it, such as eggs, flour, and sugar. This makes her feel good about how her predecessors wanted her to feel welcome in her world. What matters is the intention and the love put into making that cake, which is why Misaki fondly remembers it. This is a rather emotional moment for Misaki, and she even convinces Momo to change her stance on the need for special food. She agrees with Misaki and says that something special should be served on birthdays. Haru is hopeful now because the chances for the special food to be cake are high, especially because of Misaki also having had cake when she was welcomed into this world. Haru drools again and asks Misaki if they will be serving cake at the castle. But to her surprise, she says no. As a matter of fact, the leader girl says that the special food will be lizard tail boiled in its own blood. The other girls are absolutely horrified to hear such a suggestion because lizard tail is disgusting. Misaki reasons that she likes lizard tails because they are hard to get, and the flavor is even harder to lose memory of. With that, she adjourns the meeting, but not without vocal rebellion from the others. Now, we finally pick up from where Yuta and Lumi left off. Our hero knows that he has to mate with Lumi if he has to save her life, and then he takes it on himself to save everyone else as well. Since his elephant can't catch them all, Yuta decides to end the god of deep jealousy to make sure the girls of this world live freely and without any suppression. What follows is a rather intense session, but Lumi is also worried about what will happen to her if she mates with her lover boy. Of course, it feels great to her, so she doesn't really complain for long. Yuta is hypnotized by the fountain of desire again that he almost finishes off Lumi before they get to the main act. Luckily, he stops himself and then proceeds to mate with his babe. Lumi is taken to a different realm of the senses and she can't even believe that such a feeling exists. Soon enough, both Yuta and Lumi explode with their intrusive thoughts finally coming to fruition. Now they take a breather, but our hero can hear some shady noises coming from outside the room. It's none other than Lilia, who seems to have enjoyed a free show for her own solo mission. Either way, Yuta is glad that he managed to get the job done and save Lumi's life by mating with her. Now, he can rest assured that Lumi will not pass away early due to lack of elephant. At this very moment, Yuta also notices a mark on her neck which has only just appeared. This could be the mark of a girl who has lost her innocence, so things are going to get very interesting for our hero. Later, Lumi wakes up to Yuta right in front of her, but he has all his clothes on. Lumi is a bit shy at first, but our hero tells her there is nothing left to hide anymore. He proceeds to explain the details of all the shady acts they did last night, but Lumi is not ready for that, so she punches him right in the face. Now, Yuta asks Lumi a very important question, which is her age. She says that she is 18, which is great because even Yuta is 18 years old. This means they just like us, and our hero is not Drake. Lumi proceeds to say that all the girls in the quintet are 18 or 19 years old, which means that Yuta has free range to act out all his intrusive thoughts without having to worry about the legal consequences. Not that they would apply to this world anyway, but now it's time for a serious talk. Yuta tells Lumi that he is aware of the bizarre rules of this world, especially regarding the fact that girls pass away by the time they reach 20. Lumi confirms this and it makes our hero sad, which confuses her. Lumi asks if he can live for longer than 20, and he goes on to say that he can actually make it to 80 if he follows a healthy lifestyle. Now, Yuta tells Yumi that the talking bird informed him of a way that can save the girls from passing away so soon. Of course, he was advised against revealing it to anyone, but since Lumi is his first mate, he wants to share the secret with her. She finally learns that mating is the cure to the curse, and the only other way to lift it is by ending the god of deep jealousy. However, if it were so easy to do such a thing, then it would have been done ages ago. Our hero further states that the mark on Lumi's neck is a symbol to prove that her curse has been lifted. This means that she can also live a long and happy life just like him, and normally, it would be a cause for celebration. Lumi's eyes are filled with tears, and it would be safe to assume that it is because of joy. However, when our hero jokingly asks for some gratitude, she tells him to shut up, which means that she is clearly not happy with the way things have gone. As a matter of fact, Lumi tells Yuta that she hates him and even calls him a jerk multiple times while hitting him. This is a bit odd. So our hero asks Lumi if she is not happy to have her lifespan extended. She responds by saying she does not care about it at all. The problem is that he had mated with her out of pity, or at least that is how she is making it out to be. Lumi thought that Yuta mated with her because he genuinely liked her, but if he did this to save her life, then it was an act of pity. All of Lumi's happy thoughts have now turned into sad thoughts, which is why she is lashing out at her lover boy. Once again, she calls Yuta a jerk, and this causes him to lament how women can be such a pain to the head. However, he can't live without cute and curvy babes, so he is willing to give Lumi the benefit of doubt. He realizes that Lumi prefers his affection to the extension of her own lifespan, so he decides to handle the situation with care. Our hero pats the curvy babe on her head and says that he is honored to be held in such high regard. He then clarifies that he did not mate with Lumi out of pity. He definitely wanted to do shady things to her because his intrusive thoughts are too wild to be exposed to everyone. He continues by saying he does not want this to be a one-time thing. He wants to mate with Lumi again and again, which is a dream come true for any normal boy. Lumi becomes happy once again, but then he reminds her that he won't be able to save everyone in this world from the curse. After all, he only has one elephant, but he maintains that he will save as many lives as he can with it. This means that our hero will have to mate with other girls as well, which would usually be a problem for his girlfriend. Lumi does take a few moments to take this in, but after careful consideration, she puts a smile on her face and says that it would be a good thing for her lover boy to save her friends. Meanwhile, Lilia is still going to town on herself because of her increased hyperdrive. She clearly wants to mate with Yuta as well, but she slips up and the mop next to her falls to the floor without her realizing it. Naturally, the sound of the fall alerts Yuta, and he remembers that he had heard someone outside the room earlier. He steps outside to check for intruders, but Lilia has already made her escape by then. The only problem is that her unholy water has been dripping for a while, and she has left a massive puddle outside the room. It does not take Yuta long to figure out this liquid has come from Lilia, and he wonders how much of his conversation with Lumi she had heard. Now we shift to the library where we see Lilia once again unable to stop her uncontrollable urges. She can't seem to live without Yuta anymore, and she keeps her fingers busy while resting on the table. What Lilia does not realize is that Yuta has also reached the library and he is standing right behind her. Lilia has spread her clap pillows quite wide, and this leads Yuta to speculate that it is her preferred solo technique. He says it out loud, so it causes Lilia to panic for being caught in the act. She can't believe that our hero has found her, but he tells her it should not come as a surprise, especially since he found out that she was peeping on him and Lumi. He adds that the scent of her unholy water is so unique and strong that he can pick it up from a mile away. There's also the fact that the library is filled with the exact same smell, so it wasn't hard for him to locate her. Now, Yuta asks Lilia how much she heard of his conversation with Lumi, and she says that she heard it all. However, even she does not care about her lifespan at all and only wants to mate with our hero for purely shady reasons. She does not care if she loses her life tomorrow if she can mate with him right now. Yuta understands the assignment, so he tells Lilia that they should do it then. Naturally, this comes as a shocker to Lilia, but her body does not seem to have any issue as it is gushing with unholy water. She then tells our hero that she would like to see it, but he does not understand what she is referring to. Naturally, Lilia says that it's his elephant, but she says it in such a rush that Yuta is not able to comprehend the words. Lilia does not wish to waste any more time, so she pounces on Yuta and proceeds to see what she has always wanted to see. Lilia is impressed by the elephant and asks if it has a bone inside, for obvious reasons. Yuta asks her to be gentle and not to bend his elephant's trunk. But Lilia is too far gone to listen to anyone else. She proceeds with her servicing, and luckily for Yuta, she is doing a good job. Lilia can't control her excitement any longer and says that she wants to drink Yuta's elephant water. He is surprised that she knows of such a thing, but then again, Lilia has been studying such lewd subjects her whole life. Our hero gives her the green signal, and then Lilia activates the Hawk Tua Tongue Twister Deluxe. Yuta comments on her skills and wonders if she even has a gag reflex at all. This is when he remembers what the bird told him about the women of this world. Their bodies have been modified to accept men of any shape and size easily. Either way, Yuta lets it rip and comments that he might even get addicted to such acts. Now, Lilia says that she wants Yuta to pump her full with his elephant water, and he is brought under the trance of the fountain of desire. However, before they can proceed any further, the sisters from earlier barge into the room asking for Lilia. They look extremely panicked, which is further backed when they say it's a huge emergency. Lilia and Yuta may have been interrupted, but at least they manage to hide themselves before the girls find them. Once they get dressed, Lilia shows herself and asks what's the matter. This is when she learns that two Kali monsters have appeared and are attacking a group of girls, led by a friend named Yuri. Lilia can't believe that two Kali monsters have appeared all by themselves. But there is no time to waste, as Lumi has already left for the mountains. Since she is alone, she will need backup, which is why Lilia also decides to leave immediately. Yuta hides and listens to this, which leads him to wonder just how deadly these monsters can be. Now, we see Yuri, who is trying her best to keep the monsters away from her group. However, things are not looking good for them, especially after we see how creepy the Kali monsters really are. Yuri promises the other girls that she will protect them no matter the cost, and she believes in herself because of all the training she has gone through. The lance she has in her hands is the key to her battle strategy, so she starts off with a direct attack. Unfortunately, it is of no use, as the Kali monster easily grabs the lance and breaks it in front of Yuri, much to her visible surprise. She is out of options as the monsters gang up on her, and what follows is not a pleasant sight. Meanwhile, Lumi tries her best to make it to the scene as fast as she can, but it is too late to save Yuri. Lumi eventually reaches the girls, but what she witnesses is a rather tragic sight. Yuri is all but ended as the monsters look at her body. They then turn their attention to Lumi, but she completely ignores them and goes straight to Yuri. Lumi apologizes to her for not being able to make it in time, but Yuri is happy because at least now, the other girls will be safe. She also says that it was her fault for bringing these girls to such a dangerous area in the first place. The idea was to give them a taste of wild strawberries, but obviously, it was not worth the risk. Once again, Yuri asks Lumi to save the girls, to which she says that she will bring them back home at any cost. With that, Yuri breathes her last, and it makes Lumi very emotional. It's not a good time to get distracted though, as the Kali monsters are still there and they decide to attack Lumi next. However, she is a different breed of warrior and she is able to slash through one of them with ease. Lumi is enraged at the unforgivable actions of these monsters, but she still has a few more Kali to deal with. She stabs one in the face with a direct hit, but then she gets whacked by another one who is right behind her. She might be a good fighter, but taking on two at the same time is a tough ask for anyone. With that, the monsters pick up Lumi and prepare her for the same atrocious acts they had done to Yuri. The girls are visibly scared by what they are seeing, so Lumi asks them to run away as fast as they can. They do as she says, but it is of no use as another Kali monster shows up from nowhere. This is unheard of, but now it looks like there is no escape for Lumi and the girls. Lumi is concerned with no viable options left, but at this very moment, an arrow strikes one of the monsters. It causes the Kali's head to burst, and then we see that the attacker is Lilia, who has hit the bullseye. Now, we learn that the Kali have a weak point in the form of the 4 holes on their faces. So, if your aim is good enough, you can take them down with a single blow, otherwise it will be a long and arduous task. Lilia reveals that Misaki and the other girls have gone on another mission, so it's just her and Lumi for now, but that should be good enough if there are just 2 more Kali monsters left. However, an entire gang of Kali show up out of the blue, and this tilts the scales further away from the girls. This is not good, but Lumi and Lilia have no other choice other than to fight them. They start off well by taking down 1 monster each with their strikes, but this is not good enough. Lilia gets struck down by another Kali, and this distracts Lumi, allowing her to get beaten by another monster. These beasts start to gang up on the innocent girls as well, so we are back to square one. Suddenly, something attacks one of the Kali and its head is chopped off in an instant. The other monsters are stunned by this and they look back to see what happened. The Kali whose head gets chopped off instantly gets ended with a strike to the face hole by none other than our hero Yuta, who has made it in the nick of time. Both Lilia and Lumi are shocked to see their lover boy in action, but he was not just going to stand by and let these monsters have their way with his slave girls. He angrily looks at the Kali and tells them that they have made a huge mistake over here. Both Lilia and Lumi can now breathe a sigh of relief, and then our hero comments on how the kendo he was taught by his old man is finally coming to use in a place like this. Now, he is confident in his abilities and he is sure that he is not going to lose to a bunch of monsters that look like macho men with spooky faces. With that, Yuta assumes a battle stance and tells the monsters that he is going to use them as his practice dummies. There are at least 7 Kali monsters that can be seen here, so Yuta really has all the odds against him. Even so, he is ready to take that chance and fight all of these beasts by himself. For some odd reason, the Kali observe Yuta as if he is some kind of specimen to them. After an awkward pause, it looks like these monsters are trying to say something as well. Eventually, they scream the word Bairu, but that does not make any sense to Yuta or the other girls. The Kali continue to call our hero Bairu one after the other, and it goes on for a few seconds. With that, they oddly leave the scene while still screaming the word Bairu. Yuta is left standing there with his sword, but Lilia comments that the Kali running away is a sight that she has never seen or heard of before. This could be because of the fact that Yuta is a man, but our hero is more interested in learning what the word Bairu means. There's no time to think about that, as he notices the girls crying over Yuri. He is angered by what the Kali have done, but he does not understand how Yuri passed away without any external wounds. This is when he learns that the Kali release poison when they mate, which is what ended Yuri over here. Lilia adds that girls have no chance of survival if they are attacked by Kali, unless they manage to end them first. Yuta is puzzled by this new revelation because if the girls mate with him, then they get to live longer. However, doing the same thing with the Kali will end their lives immediately. Lumi can't hold back her tears because she is a member of the quintet and it is her job to protect people like Yuri. However, she had failed to do that and is cross with herself about it. One of the girls tells Lumi that it was actually her fault because she wanted to eat wild strawberries, which eventually led Yuri to bring them here. The girls continue to cry, but Yuta tells them not to blame themselves for it as they had not done anything wrong. This was only the fault of the Kali, and Yuta has now seriously considered them to be a legitimate threat. After some time, Our hero and the girls manage to give a respectful farewell to Yuri by cremating her body. We can see that the other members of the quintet have arrived, and they too are overcome by their emotions. Later in the night, we see the quintet having a meeting with Yuta over the events that have just transpired. Misaki tells Yuta that she is grateful to him for having saved Lumi, Lilia, and the other girls from the Kali monsters. However, he tells her that the gratitude is unnecessary because he has been treated well by the quintet despite not being from this world or knowing anything about it. He would like to pull his own weight over here in order to repay that kindness, and Misaki gets it. In this case, she would like to use our hero's services as much as she can going forward, to which he agrees. Before the conversation can move forward, Momo notices the mark on Lumi's neck and asks her what it is. She tries her best to brush it off, and luckily Momo starts talking about why so many Kali ended up in that area. After all, it was not part of the Kali's natural habitat, so it made no sense for so many of them to show up. Haru says that the Kali must be expanding their habitat, which is why they are now heading towards the city. This leads to an awkward pause, because the girls don't really know how to counter this threat. That's when Lilia brings up the fact that the Kali saw Yuta and simply ran away without putting up a fight. This is rather odd, but since it actually happened, Misaki is led to believe that if Yuta stays in the city, then the Kali might not attack it. This is a good strategy, but then it gives Momo some other questionable ideas. She says that if men can be used in such a way, then it would be better to crucify Yuta and use him as a permanent repellent. Of course, there's no way our hero is going to agree to that, and he is also scared to see how happy Momo looks while saying that. Misaki changes the topic and says that when they will go scouting to check the borders of the Kali's habitat region, they will bring Yuta along with them. Haru then says that the timing of this request might be odd, but they should also go and collect some ember rocks. They are almost out of them, but Yuta does not know what they are. Misaki explains that these rocks can be burned and used as fuel, almost like the coal from his world. Lumi further elaborates that these ember rocks can only be found next to the Kali's habitat, which makes it a risky task.
Now that our hero Yuta has an idea of how dangerous the Kali monsters are, he is ready to offer his services to the cute and curvy babes of his new world. However, Momo wants to literally use him as a tool, so it's a bit messed up. Anyway, it's time for the team to set out on their new mission, and then we shift to Yuta checking out some of the weapons in the artillery. There are lots of options for him to choose from, but the main problem is that all of them are mostly ancient, and most likely would not be any good in battle. Our hero laments that the skills of metal crafting have been lost in this world, but that's probably because all of its residents are women. However, Yuta also takes note of the fact that the women of this world only live till the age of 20, so it's not likely for them to pass on any skills to the next generation. Also, with such an age bracket, the main men who would love to come here would be Drake or Leonardo DiCaprio. Now, Yuta reminds himself that he will need to defeat the god of deep jealousy because that is the only way for him to free the girls of the curse that makes them pass away so early. In any case, Yuta does not have a lot of information on this god, so he'll have to keep his eyes and ears wide open during today's scouting. As the team prepares to leave, Lilia is told that she will have to stay behind because there's no way the entire quintet can leave the city unprotected. Lilia does not have a problem with this because her powers are mostly suited towards defense. She wishes the girls all the best, and then all of them move out with Yuta. Our hero knows that he will have to be careful not to touch any of the girls because that could lead them to uncontrollable intrusive thoughts. The team enters the forest, but Yuta wants to know how far the Ember Rock mining site is. Misaki says that if all goes well, then everyone will be able to make it back to the castle before it's time for dinner. Going one way takes roughly half a day, so our hero is looking at a full day's worth of walking. He asks Misaki if they have packed any lunch, but he is told that nobody is carrying any food. They are to eat whatever they find on the way, which is less than ideal. Momo says not to worry because there are fruits to pick and even fishes to roast, as this forest does not discriminate when it comes to feeding its occupants. At the same time, if any of these people let their guard down, they will become instant meals for monsters as well. Suddenly Lumi draws her sword, so Yuta asks her why she is doing this. That is when the entire team notices a massive monster that has suddenly appeared in front of them from the river. Yuta is shocked by this beast's appearance and wants to know how such a thing can even exist. However, Misaki's mouth starts to drool and she says that the monster looks delicious, which is most definitely a questionable statement. Suddenly, the massive monster drops its head onto the soil, and this makes the girls alert. They tell Yuta that this is a giga salamander which emits a poisonous fog when it comes to the land. On top of that, the fog is also used to double up as a smoke screen. Just as they say this, the giga salamander unleashes its fog, which makes the girls panic. They don't know how to tackle this mess, but Yuta has an idea. He tells Misaki to run upwind, and even though the monster chases them, it is not that fast on land, so they are able to escape. Eventually, Misaki and Yuta reach safety, but they seem to have gotten separated from the other three girls. Our hero is a bit worried, but Misaki says that they will all meet at the same destination. The duo now moves along the river and Yuta decides to make small talk. He asks Misaki if she is the leader of the quintet, and this surprises her. Our hero says that she does act as sort of a leader to the other girls, but she maintains that they have never chosen any leader as such. She is just there to make sure things are held together, but Yuta knows that if there were to be an election, then Misaki's votes would outnumber Trump and Harris combined. Now, Misaki asks Yuta which country he comes from, so he tells her that he's from Japan. Misaki wants to know more about it, but our hero can only say that it's definitely not on this planet. Misaki says that she has heard rumors about such things happening every now and then, but this is her first time actually meeting someone who is from another world. That fact that this person is a man only makes things more interesting for her. Yuta now drops a massive bomb on Misaki, telling her that the place where he's from, men are not at all rare. As a matter of fact, half of humanity comprises of men back in his world, which is something that Misaki finds very hard to believe. She says that such a world must be terrifying, but this sounds more like an insult than concern. Yuta asks her why she is saying this, and she explains that she is feeling uncomfortable even now simply because she is next to a man. After all, Yuta can only remind Misaki of the Kali monster who took her sister's life. Gauging from her reaction, our hero feels that Misaki won't have any intrusive thoughts even if he were to touch her, so he is safe from shady activities for now. Yuta tells Misaki that he's feeling a bit hungry now, and she says it's a good thing because their lunch has just appeared in the form of some werewolf monsters. They look deadly, but our hero is more concerned over the fact that he and Misaki are going to eat their flesh. She asks Yuta if he knows how to fight, which comes across as an odd question to him. Misaki explains that every monster in this world has a weak point, and for the werewolf monsters, it's their Adam's apple. She adds that if Yuta strikes the Adam's apple, then he can finish off the monsters in one strike, but it will not leave behind any meat. This is why he should either aim for the head or the heart, but our hero goes on to destroy a werewolf by directly slashing its Adam's apple. This causes the werewolf to disappear, and Misaki gets shocked by what she has just seen. She berates Yuta for not listening to her instructions, but he tells her to shut up because he has no intention of eating a werewolf's meat. Misaki is confused because Yuta had said that he was hungry, but he explains that he won't eat anything just because he is feeling hungry. Our hero suggests going to the river and catching some fish, but Misaki says that the river is only full of giga salamanders. Yuta does not like the sound of this, as Misaki takes down another werewolf by stabbing it in the heart. With the monsters dealt with, there is one werewolf body which can be used for cooking, so Misaki tells Yuta not to worry about the flavor of the meat. She is good when it comes to preparing dishes, which means that she does spend time in the kitchen like a useful woman. Misaki says that she will treat Yuta to some werewolf sashimi, but the very sound of the dish makes him feel a bit uncomfortable. Misaki opens up the werewolf's insides, and it looks horrible to Yuta, so he can't take it anymore. He destroys this body as well by slashing the Adam's apple, but Misaki does not understand why our hero has just taken away their one chance to eat something. He simply says that what she was doing was not cooking, but rather an autopsy. Misaki gets upset and complains that the meat is actually good, and there was no need to do what Yuta did. She adds that she really wanted to treat Yuta to something good because he came from another world, which shows a different side to her. Our hero realizes that he may have made the wrong judgment simply by looking at the appearance of the meat. Misaki turns her head and says that this is why she hates men, which in this case is a fair reaction. Yuta apologizes for being so brash, and he promises to eat the next werewolf they run into. All of a sudden, Misaki lights up and says that she will definitely treat Yuta. This is the first time our hero has seen Misaki smile, and he realizes that she is actually very cute when she is not being so serious. He comments that Misaki does seem to be the reliable kind, and the best part is that she is 18, which makes her the same age as him while also keeping her safe from Drake. Now, Misaki prepares her knives and says that werewolf meat is delicious, especially when it is eaten raw. There is no need to argue about the meat anymore, so Yuta decides it's time for them to move on and head for the mines. However, as he says this, our hero slips on the moss on one of the rocks and falls into the river. Misaki is a bit confused, and she asks him what he is doing, but he says that he's a city kid, so he is not used to the paths of the forest. He doesn't look very heroic now, so Misaki gives him a hand and pulls him out of the water. However, this does something to her and she lets go of him immediately, thus making Yuta look like a fool twice. He gets upset and asks Misaki why she let his hand go, but then he realizes that he had forgotten something very important. Since Misaki has touched him, her kitty water elixir is now overflowing and she is being overcome by intrusive thoughts. Our hero does not seem too bothered by this, because he knows that he will have to mate with Misaki eventually to save her life. Yuta gets out of the water and stands in front of Misaki, who is going through a lot of feelings right now. She can't understand what is happening to her curvy body, as she has never really experienced such a thing before in her life. Of course, this is simply because she has touched a man, and it leads her to want to engage in shady activities. Yuta is watching her, so she tries her best to control her fingers, but there's only so much you can do to counter intrusive thoughts as powerful as these. Misaki gives into the wet side and starts to feel good, but she is aware that Yuta is watching, which makes the whole thing very embarrassing to her. Misaki knows that she can't be doing such things, but her have a mind of their own. Misaki pleads with Yuta not to watch her in this sensitive situation, and it becomes really tough for her. However, our hero is now more giga than the salamander they just ran away from. He calmly looks at Misaki and tells her that while she's at it, they might as well save her life. He instructs her to make it easy for his elephant to meet her kitty, but she tells him not to mock her like this. After all, he is the reason she is feeling this way, so she continues to say that she hates males. Yuta says that he is fine with doing shady things only if Misaki is fine with it as well, but she worries about what may happen to her. Even so, she can't help the feeling of wanting to mate, so when Yuta tells her to get up and leave with him for the mines, she is hesitant. Misaki says that she can never allow herself to have feelings for a male, and Yuta casually agrees with her, after which he tells her they must leave now. However, she remains confused, so Yuta gives her a demo of the Tongue Twister 3000. He then tells Misaki that he knows she wants to mate, but she argues that it is absolutely not the case. Misaki continues to blush, so Yuta tells her there is no need to keep up appearances in front of him. After all, since she is feeling so shady, it won't be a problem to prepare her body for our hero. What follows is a range of unspeakable acts, and Misaki can't help herself at all. Yuta tells her to admit that she desperately wants with him, and then he mocks her desires. He wants Misaki to beg him for his elephant, and she is about to say it as well, but then she stops herself. She tells Yuta not to make a fool of her, because she will never beg him or any other man for such a thing. Misaki declares that our hero will never make a fool of her, so he apologizes for getting carried away by his own intrusive thoughts. On that note, he decides they should actually get going now, but before he can walk away, Misaki holds onto his shirt. She apologizes for resisting him and begs him not to leave her in this state. She continues to him with her and plant his inside her kitty. She even shouts out loud that she wants Yuta and she will no longer keep up appearances. Our hero is proud of Misaki for allowing him to save her life, and what follows simply cannot be put into words. Misaki makes the face of a crazed maniac and says that what's happening to her feels extremely good. She keeps thinking to herself that she is really happy right now, but what she does not realize is that Lumi and the other girls are right there and enjoying the show behind a rock-hard boulder. The girls can't believe what they are seeing, but it is quite clear that Misaki has given in to her base desires. She even tells Yuta that she loves him while they are in the middle of their shady activities. What's even more shocking is that Misaki is the most and composed girl out of the quintet, but as of now, she is the wildest. Of course, watching such intense action makes the other girls also feel some type of way, and looks like a lot of fun to them. Lumi starts to feel her kitty elixir fill up her, and she keeps looking at our hero as if she wants to join in on the fun. Momo is still in amazement over the phenomenon but right now, it's Lumi who needs to be kept in check. She is asked as to why she is behaving this way, but she states that the other girls have no idea about anything because they have not experienced it yet. After all, she was the first girl who got to meet with our hero, so she is feeling left out the most. She goes on to say that it feels really good when Yuta does shady things to her, and this shocks both the babes. Now, Yuta decides to unleash his own elephant water, and then Misaki passes out from having experienced multiple explosions. Yuta can see that even her neck has a mark around it now, meaning Misaki has been saved from the curse as well. Our hero is glad that he has been able to rescue two cute girls, but the problem is that this is a rather tough task. Meanwhile, the other girls who have been untouched continue to wonder if it's really as good as it looked right now. However, things take a turn for the worst when a Kali monster shows up out of nowhere. The Kali wastes no time in launching its first attack, but Lumi and Momo manage to dodge the attack. Lumi gets ready to launch her own attack on the monsters, but she gets whacked in the stomach and is sent flying away. As Lumi crashes to the ground, Momo tries to counter these beasts with her own strength. She is able to put up something of a fight, but laments that it was really careless of the girls to have gotten so engrossed with the act. She tries to knee the Kali monster, but this doesn't really do anything to it. Instead, the beast opens its mouth and reveals a weird worm creature that springs out of it. The Kali monster now tries to put this work into Momo's mouth, which is disgusting even from a Diddy angle. Lumi worries for Momo and calls out to her out of concern, but luckily for her, a sword passes through the Kali monster and its tongue. Someone seems to have stabbed the monster from behind, and this is all it takes for it to vanish into thin air. As expected, the person who just saved Momo is none other than Yuta himself. He does not have a shirt on, but still apologizes to the girls for taking so much time to put his pants back on. Anyway, now that he's here, our hero tells the girls to fall back and relax, because he will do all the fighting now. He tells them that the quintet has always had to fight for the others because there were only girls in this world. However, now that a man has appeared, it's time for him to show the women how it's really done. Yuta strikes a very heroic pose and tells the quintet girls that he will protect them from now on. Lumi and the others can't believe what they are hearing, and it looks like Yuta has managed to raise them up without even relying on the power of his touch. As he prepares to fight the Kali monsters, Yuta can see that they have paused in front of him. It does not take long for them to start acting weird again, and they let out the word Byra once again in excessively loud fashion. On that note, the Kali monsters turn around and walk away while screaming the same word over and over again. The girls can't believe that the Kali monsters are actually walking away due to the mere presence of a man in front of them. It's the first time they are witnessing such a sight, but the most disappointed person right now is none other than Yuta himself. He did not expect the monsters to turn their backs on him so easily, and now he is feeling very embarrassed because he struck a very heroic pose for nothing. Momo apologizes to Yuta for being so unaware of the Kali monsters and letting them sneak up behind them. Our hero calls her out by saying this was only because they wanted to continue watching him with Misaki. As he says this, Misaki also shows up in her clothes while still trying to recover from all the unspeakable acts she had performed with her new lover boy. Misaki goes on to hold our hero's arm and tells him that she loves him with passion. The one person who's super shocked by this is none other than Lumi because she was the first of our hero. She demands Misaki to explain what she is doing and saying, but she answers that such a thing can't be helped anymore. After all, the moment her body became one with Yuta's, she realized that she is just meat who has been brought to this world to with our hero. Of course, this is a bit too extreme even by Andrew Tate standards, but Misaki maintains that she will continue to be next to Yuta at all times. This is because she needs to be ready for whenever her master would like to with her. As expected, Lumi is not having any of this, and she tells Misaki that she is being ridiculous. After all, she is the one who believes herself to be Yuta's true mate, but the other girls are not too interested in this competition, so they walk away from the scene. Now, it's time to get back to the main mission at hand, which is to reach the mine, and the team eventually does manage to make it there. Of course, Yuta is a bit confused, because the opening to the cave is quite massive. This is where ember rocks get mined, and it's really hot in the area, as pointed out by Yuta. However, Lumi says that it will only get hotter inside the cave because ember rocks are known to emit a ridiculous kind of heat. The other girls argue that if they start with the mining now, then the sun will set by the time they are done. This would be way too dangerous for the team, because night time is when the monsters come to life. The girls say that a lot of time was lost due to the mating, which makes Yuta look shady, but he tells them that they should have stopped him if that was the case. After all, they enjoyed the view more than anything else, so they should just save their tears for another day. Momo suggests camping here for the night because the ember rocks will keep the entire group warm anyway. This is a good idea because the team members can keep a watch turn by turn. Also, there is a river nearby, so catching fish for food will not be a problem either. Our hero feels hungry again, and he complains that he has only had one fruit the entire day. Misaki readily says that she will prepare something for her new lover boy, but this alerts the other girls, so they tell her not to worry about it and just sit tight. She does not understand why people are so skeptical of her cooking, but she plays along and then the team gets busy gathering food for the night. Yuta can be seen getting busy with the fishes, while Lumi sets her eyes on the juicy fruits around the forest. After a long, arduous session of hard work, our hero and his girls sit around a fire to enjoy their meal together. Yuta takes one bite of the fish and he immediately falls in love with it. He comments that it's impossible for a fish to have such fat and flavor in it naturally, so he asks the girls what kind of specimen it is. Misaki calls it the fatty sweet fish, which as our hero rightly puts it, does sound like a rather unappetizing naming sense. Lumi shows up with her fruit collection now, and she tells Yuta that they are quite juicy and delicious, just like her pillows and her kitty. Yuta wants to know what's so special about it, so he takes a bite, but he quickly realizes that there is nothing to write home about the fruit. As is the case with any kind of vegan food, this only sets him up for disappointment. Now, Yuta shifts his focus to Haru, who has some ember rocks in her hand. Our hero is quite curious to know more about these stones, so Haru cracks one open and shows the flames glowing from inside the stone. Yuta can't believe the amount of energy that is emanating from the stone just by coming in contact with air. Haru states that the ember rocks which they can mine in this area have a low purity level. If they are to consider ember rock crystals which have a high purity level, even the small ones can burn for as long as 50 whole years. Misaki then comments that the rocks live much longer than the girls of this world. Of course, Yuta knows that this is not true, so he decides to reveal the truth to all the girls in front of him. He declares that Misaki will continue to live on for much longer, even after the age of 20. This comes as a huge shock to all the girls, so they demand an explanation for what our hero has just said. Now, Yuta reveals what the bird god named Genius had told him about the people of this world. He states that the reason why the girls of this world pass away at the mere age of 20 is because of a curse inflicted by the god of deep jealousy. The girls are told that if they end up mating with our hero, then they will no longer have a limited lifespan. Momo and Haru can't believe what they are hearing, so they ask the other girls if this is true since they are the ones who mated with Yuta. Our hero simply tells them that they should ask the bird god about this. However, he does add that the marks on Lumi's and Misaki's neck are indicators that they have been freed from the curse. Momo is still in shock because she can finally imagine a life where age is not a barrier to her. Lumi and Misaki don't say anything, but Yuta declares that in the interest of heroism, he must mate with as many girls as he can in this world. Of course, even his elephant has a limit, so he won't be able to save everyone. However, Genius did tell him that the quickest way to save everyone would be to end the god of deep jealousy. Our hero believes that he was called to this world for this exact reason, and he has a huge responsibility on his shoulders. Yuta needs more information of the god of deep jealousy, so he asks the girls if they have ever come across any information about him. However, this seems to be the first time they are even hearing of such a god, so they are completely clueless. Lumi suggests asking Genius for more information, but our hero laments that the bird god is too silly and aloof in nature, so there's no telling when he might pop up. He asks if there is any fixed method of finding Genius, so Lumi explains that there is a shrine for the bird god near the city of Meath. If Yuta is to wait for a few days over there, then he will most definitely be able to meet Genius. Our hero has no other choice but to follow this tactic now, but then Genius randomly shows up once again in typical bird fashion. Yuta comments that the bird god is indeed whimsical, but Genius says that he needs to keep up with his daily hustle. Now, when it comes to the god of deep jealousy, even Genius does not seem to know a lot, but there is a shrine in the city of Lilu which worships this god, so our hero might be able to find answers there. The girls discuss the city of Lilu amongst themselves, and Yuta asks them if it is far from here. Lumi explains that Lilu is indeed far, but they will be able to reach it by foot within 3 days. Momo now asks Genius if it is true that they will be freed from the curse if they with Yuta, to which the bird god replies with confirmation. Genius seems to have a third leg, and that is not a dirty joke, but rather the truth. He then explains that he is a god who is bound to this land, so he can't really travel around the world like Daft Punk. His experience may be limited, but then he turns to Yuta and tells him that he is quite different. As long as he has the will to do it, he will be able to travel anywhere he wishes, and that too on his feet, not via Taylor Swift's private jets. Since our hero has boundless potential, the bird god tells him that he is leaving everything in his hands, after which he vanishes again like Houdini. Now, the team is left to themselves again, and it's time to sleep. Misaki says that she will stay on watch duty while everyone else sleeps, because she feels like her mating wildness was the cause for their inability to make it back home on time. Yuta says that if the mating was the cause, then he is also to blame since he let out way too many intrusive thoughts. He offers to take turns while sleeping between himself and Misaki, which sounds fair to Momo. Time passes by as everyone sleeps, and then Yuta wakes up to keep a watch. He feels that he has slept way too long, but that's only natural after he put in all the work during his shady activities with Misaki. He goes to her and says it's time to switch places, which makes her relieved that even she can rest after losing so much kitty water elixir today. Now, Misaki is feeling a bit shy as she tries to talk to Yuta about something important. She eventually apologizes for all the weird things she had said, well as after the unspeakable acts they engaged in. She then asks our hero to forget whatever she told him, even though she really meant what she said. Of course, Misaki is feeling really embarrassed about the whole thing, so Yuta plays along and asks her about what she is even saying. This puts Misaki at ease, and then Yuta keeps watch, but the shady activities really have taken a toll on him, so he goes back to sleep. He curses himself for not being able to stay awake during such a crucial time, but then he also realizes that he has been tied to a tree trunk. That's when Momo appears out of the blue and looks like a proper villainess. She tells Yuta to stay quiet, but he does not understand why he is being kept as a prisoner. Momo states that he should not say anything, otherwise Lumi and the others will find out what's happening. She then holds our hero's face close to hers and says that he will now be made with her, although she could have simply asked him for it first. Momo does seem to have a very shady smile while she says this, but our hero does not understand the need for her to act so creepy with him. He tells her that she does not need to tie him up for such things, unless that's what gets her engine roaring. Yuta also says that he will be more than happy to with Momo tomorrow when they get back to the city. However, Momo says no to this idea because who knows what tomorrow has in store for us. Momo says that she is a very cautious woman, so she is not going to let Yuta's mood affect her life. Now that she is done explaining her intentions, Momo takes off her gloves and decides to touch Yuta, who has become infamous for turning girls into intrusive monsters. One touch is all it takes for her to fall in love with our hero from a shady angle. The surge of shoddiness fills up Momo's body faster than Diddy's baby oil, and she begins to lose control of herself. She is still trying to figure out what this sensation is, but it is fair to say that the diddler within her has awakened. What follows is a display of her tongue twister 500, but Yuta asks her if she intends on getting down to business. Momo realizes that she got carried away, so she quickly slips it down and takes a look at Yuta's elephant. She is surprised by what she sees, but our hero tells her she should know such things. He then says that since he's tied up, he can't really do anything by himself. Momo will have to do all the work if she wants to get done with business now, so she does as Yuta says. What follows is a range of shady activities, but Momo is not too sure of what to do, so she asks our hero for further guidance. This is feeling a lot better than Momo could have ever imagined, and she lets out the beast within her. She can't stop at all, and it looks as if her's moving on its own to get what it wants. Momo thinks that she's being slick by tying up Yuta and doing it away from the cave, but her efforts seem to have failed because both Lumi and Misaki are very much awake, as is Haru. Yuta asks Momo why she is shaking so much, because she usually likes to act high and mighty. She tells him to shut up, but Yuta is in Giga Chad mode, so he tells her that she is just a simple girl who can't control her intrusive thoughts at the end of the day. Momo tells our hero to shut up again because she is going to explode, but he does her one better and says that even he will unleash his elephant water into her. She begs him not to do it, but he says that she is the one doing all the moving, so it's not like he can stop it if he wants to. A massive explosion follows, and Momo passes out from the intensity of it. She wheezes away from all the insane sensations, and it doesn't look like she's going to get up for a while. Yuta is pleased to see what he was able to do to Momo, even though his hands were tied up. This actually made things easier for our hero, so he could probably get used to such things. Now, he asks Momo if she can untie him because he needs to hide his elephant. However, the problem is that Momo is completely down and out for the count, so she will not be able to move at all. Yuta continues to call out to her, but it is of no use, so he will have to stay like this until morning. The next day arrives, and we can see our hero coming back to the main city with his girls. The residents are happy to see that the quintet has made their way back, and Haru can be seen carrying the hot amber stones in a sack. Lilia is very happy to see everyone back safe and sound, so she welcomes them with a cute smile. She notices that the team has brought back a lot of ember rocks, so they must have had a long journey. She says that the quintet should now get some rest, but she notices something new about Misaki as well as Momo. The marks on their necks are quite visible and Lilia is shocked to see them. She wants to know why these two girls have the marks on their necks, but she does not get any response from them directly. This is when Lilia realizes that Yuta has been with both Misaki as well as Momo. This brings her to tears because she remembers when our hero refused to do it with her when she had desperately asked him to do so. Disappointed and heartbroken, Lilia runs away from the scene and keeps calling Yuta a jerk, so he has to run after her. Our hero says that he is ready to with Lilia right now, but it only leads to a hilarious situation, all while Haru remains clueless as to what is going on. Before we move on to the next chapter, it's time for a special flashback to when Yuta first appeared in this world. We can see Haru chopping some wood while Lilia tends to some goats. Lumi shows up with some fruits and asks Haru if this is hard work for her. She agrees, but says that she does not mind putting in the labor. Lilia states that such efforts would not be needed if they were able to go to the pyrophosphate mines. However, with the Kali attacks on the rise, going to the mines is most definitely not an option. Life clearly does not get any easier for the girls, because while the goats may leave behind children, the girls are not able to do the same. There is no memory of their names or anything else, and they just become forgotten babes in the longer scheme of things. Misaki also gets involved in the conversation when the girls talk about their purpose in this world. Lilia continues to feed a goat and wonders how life would turn out for them if there were men in this world. Momo says that there is no point pondering about such things, because they will just have to make do with what they have right now. After all, their world has only seen human girls for thousands of years, and it does not look like things are going to change anytime soon. Momo adds that if a man were to show up in this world right now, then he would have only made things tougher for them. Lumi agrees and says that if she were to ever come across a man, then she would probably stab him, mistaking him to be a Kali monster. Lilia has a different opinion because she feels life would be better with men around, proving herself to be a worthy woman. After all, dogs and cats have their own male counterparts, but it's only the humans who don't have it in this world. Lilia does not understand why it's only the humans who have been left out from all the other living beings, and talks about how males would make life easier for the females. Looking at the female animals wagging their tails to attract males also gets Lilia very curious. Lumi asks Misaki what she thinks of males in general, but she states that she only looks at them as another form of Kali monsters. On that note, Misaki slashes down a dummy Kali scarecrow to further showcase her hatred towards males. She reiterates that she will never spare a man who comes in front of her, although the future has gone on to prove otherwise. Misaki then clarifies that she can't guarantee her hostility because she has never seen a man in real life. She then goes on to joke that she might even mate with a man, just like the animals. However, both Momo and Lumi are uncomfortable with that thought, as they can't even imagine Misaki engaging in shady acts. All this talk about mating is getting Lilia to feel some kind of way, as can be seen in her posture. Lumi can see Lilia squatting weirdly, so she asks her what's wrong. Lilia only says that she remembered something she had seen in a library book. It's at this moment when Haru states that even she has read the same book. Of course, this causes Lilia to panic, but Haru does not say anything alarming. She talks about seeing images of humans pairing off with each other and raising children together in peace. Haru recalls that the people shown in these images were very much happy, so it does not look like men would be a problem to society. The other girls agree with her, which makes them more sensible than a modern woman on Earth. Haru then declares that if they did have men in this world, then the girls would be able to live happier lives than they do now. Now, we move to the night time where Lulu is sitting at the top of the castle and gazing at the stars. Suddenly, she sees a flash of light from far away and becomes alert, but the flash becomes a bit too overwhelming for her to handle. Lumi wonders what this flash of light could be, and then she rushes down the stairs to find Misaki, who also wants to know what just happened. Lumi feels that it could be the will-o-wisps fighting in the forest, but she still needs to go to the forest to check it out. At this moment, Genius also shows up out of nowhere and says that he will come along with Lumi because he has a bad feeling about the flash of light. Now, we shift to the forest itself where a boy wakes up to the chirping of birds around him. He wants to know where he is, and this is how our story began all the way back in part 1 of the series. Now, we move back to the present where Lilia is running away from Yuta while calling him a jerk. He runs behind her, stating that he is willing to make up for his past mistakes. This chase happens in the open, with all the other girls of the city walking around them. Yuta does not give up the chase, and he notices Lilia running into a room, after which she slams the door. Our hero follows her inside and finds this to be Lilia's room. She is sitting on her bed, looking sad and gloomy over what she has just learned. Yuta is pleased to see this, as it indicates that Lilia is ready to engage in shady activities. He sits down next to her, which makes her blush even more, but he says that she should know the drill by now. He orders Lilia to prepare her for him, but this makes her blush a lot with hesitation. Anyway, she still goes through with it and shows her curves to Yuta in all their glory. Lilia says that she will do whatever our hero tells her to do, but Yuta has a lot of other things on his mind. His mind is feeling dizzy because of Lilia's citric scent, and he still can't believe that his body count is increasing so rapidly when he was just an untouched boy a day or so ago. Our hero also dives in for a proper feast as Lilia tells him that she can't control her urges any longer. She continues to beg Yuta for his elephant, so he asks her how desperate she is for this. Lilia reveals that solo missions don't work for her anymore, so she needs her master to with her, otherwise she will pass away. The fact about Lilia passing away if she doesn't mate is true, so our hero understands why she is being so keen on this. Lilia unleashes the beast within and begs for the session to begin as she is ready to do anything for it. She finally gets what she wants, and as expected, it's the best feeling she's ever had in her life. What happens after this is probably the dirtiest session we have ever seen on Comic Guzzlers, and then Lilia drops down after the biggest explosion of her life. Yuta is also tired, and he congratulates Lilia on finally losing her innocence. She can only talk about how amazing it felt, and she continues to wheeze so that she can recover. Lilia also states that since she now knows the true feeling of mating, she will never be able to think of anything else again for the rest of her life. Our hero teases Lilia, but this seems to work her up again, so she asks if they can go for another round, which is quite impressive considering she was barely gasping for breath after round 1. The problem is that not much can be done by an elephant with a soft trunk, and this makes Lilia upset. She wants to know what can be done to get our hero ready for round 2, so he says he needs to be brought into a mood. Lilia is confused, so Yuta tells her to make a shady pose for him. This makes her blush, but if she wants to get the elephant, then she will need to at least strike the leopardess pose. Lilia tries her best, but the pose is mid at best because it mostly depends on soft. She gets angry, so Yuta tells her to think of some poses herself. Lilia tries something extra shady, so our hero scolds her for not understanding the true meaning of allure. However, his elephant does awaken, and he has to explain that he has a teenage boy's body, so he will obviously respond to a cute girl's kitty. This gives Lilia an idea, so she asks if she can unleash her tongue twister 4000 on Yuta. No man in his right mind will ever say no to such a request, so he lets her have it. This seems to be doing the trick for our hero because the way Lilia unleashes this attack can completely envelop him. She does not know what she is doing with her, but it's deep, so that's all that matters. Lilia wants some elephant water, so she pulls out all the stops and upgrades to the tongue twister 8000 in order to get it. She eventually succeeds and relishes the taste of the elephant water. Lilia wants seconds, but Yuta doesn't think that will be possible at all. However, he does have the body of a teenage boy, so if it's not possible now, then it will never be possible. As these unspeakable acts continue behind closed doors, we can see Lumi, Misaki, Momo, and Haru all standing outside and listening to the couple, so it's getting hard for them to control themselves. Haru obviously doesn't get this, so she tells the girls to just go inside and make it a party, but they say that it would not be fair to Lilia. Momo asks Haru why she hasn't mated with Yuta yet because she is the closest to losing her life to the curse. She simply says that she refuses to do such a thing. She explains that if the only way out is to become intrusive beasts like the other girls, then she will happily give her life away, although this just sounds like a cranky feminist spewing nonsense. Suddenly, Yuta becomes a bit confused because there is no mark on Lilia's neck. Our hero worries that the curse may not have been lifted from her, but then he remembers Genius telling him that mating will surely save the girls from the curse. However, the bird god did not say anything about the neck mark, so it may not be relevant to the curse at all. However, Genius did admit to not knowing much about the curse himself, so Yuta is very confused right now. Lilia simply says that they'll continue until the mark shows up because she does not care about living. She only wants to mate with Yuta forever, which makes him blush. It's quite an achievement to make a Giga Chad blush, so Yuta asks Lilia why she is only interested in mating and not romance. However, before the conversation can move further, the bell rings, which means that it's time to change shifts for town watching. Haru decides to keep watch for now and bids the other girls farewell, but after she leaves, Misaki can see that there are drops of kitty water elixir that have fallen from Haru as well. Misaki does not understand why Haru is trying to be so high and mighty, but there's no point worrying about such things. Haru is now seen keeping a watch on the town while the night sky gazes upon her. Suddenly, Yuta shows up and offers to keep watch over the city, but Haru tells him it's none of his business as he is not a resident of the city. Our hero ignores her attitude and sits next to her, stating she doesn't need to be so cold. Now, he talks to her about moon breaking, which is the code name for passing away from the curse. Haru is the closest to moon breaking because she only has half a year left, whereas the others have already mated and saved their lives. Yuta asks Haru if she wants to, but she refuses once again because she is still being stubborn about not becoming a shady beast like the other girls. She then tells Yuta to leave, and he does so because there's no point wasting time with such a snob. After all, he doesn't care for Haru's attitude because he will surely end the god of deep jealousy within half a year. He then tells her that he will depart for the city of Lilu tomorrow. As he leaves, Yuta reassures Haru that he will not let her moon break while he is around. This makes her smile, but then the ball on her head suddenly breaks into two. This is a sign of moon breaking, but Haru still has half a year left, so it does not make sense to her. Now that the moon breaking has begun, Haru can only watch on as her body begins to glow, indicating that her end is near. She falls to the ground, but there is something that she needs to do, so she calls out to Yuta immediately. Our hero rushes to the scene, wanting to know what Haru has to say to him, but he is shocked to see her in her current state. Not knowing what to do, he asks Haru to stay with him, but she says that her moon breaking is happening now. Our hero can't believe what he is seeing, and Haru states that it has come quite early for her. Yuta panics, so he calls out to the other girls to come here and help him out. Of course, there is nothing that they can do either, so they simply gather around Haru to offer her some comfort. Misaki holds Haru's hand and comments that while it may be common for moon breaking to happen a bit earlier or later, it is quite rare to see it happen half a year in advance. Yuta wants to know what can be done, but Momo says that there is nothing to do about moon breaking. Our hero does not want to just stand there and watch Haru disintegrate, so he wonders if he will be able to save her by now. As he is considering it, Haru tells him that she knows what he is thinking. However, she does not want to live with shame, so she asks him not to do it. Yuta can't understand the logic behind this, but then again, if Haru is not keen on mating, then he can't really force it on her. Now, Misaki decides to pray for Haru and offers her a blessing, but Yuta can't get over the fact that the girls have accepted an end for their comrade so easily. He seems to be getting a bit too emotional, so the girls tell him to relax. Lumi asks him if he knows the number of people she and the quintet members have had to see off this way. In the city of Meath, the girls have to say goodbye to one person a week, and when there are overlaps, the number can go as high as several girls in a single day. Lumi adds that the people of Earth could probably live until the age of 80, but this is Drake's fantasy land, so the girls are used to saying farewell at the age of 20. You could even say it's God's plan. Momo states that if a girl gets ended by a Kali monster, then they don't go to heaven and their bodies don't disappear. In the case of moon breaking though, the victim goes to heaven and their body disappears. Haru says that living until moon breaking is a joyous occasion, but Yuta calls BS on this because it's no different from the religions from his world. This is all a way to make herself feel better, because if Momo had believed in this, then she would not have rushed to mate with Yuta the way she did. However, telling the truth may only cause further panic, so our hero decides not to say anything out loud. He can't grasp the concepts of this world, and that's when Haru tells him that she's sure he may be finding all of this to be very absurd. She then says that since Yuta has seen through all this madness, he will be the only one who can save the world. She wants our hero to make her world a place where people can live full lives in peace. This makes Yuta emotional, and he promises to correct the world for Haru. She has one final request for him, which is to touch her, so that she can see what all the fuss is about. Our hero does it and Haru can finally understand why the girls went so crazy for him. Haru smiles and says that she is very happy, but then she vanishes and Yuta's eyes are filled with tears. He realizes that Haru wanted to show him the madness of her world, and she has entrusted it to him to save her people. She might have been stubborn, but she was definitely noble, so Yuta will surely correct this world and save everyone from the curse. Misaki and the others begin the cleanup job, and they do it so casually that it makes Yuta figure out how much they are used to it. After all, if they would grieve at least once every week, then it would make their hearts really weak. Of course, we do see all the girls crying because they were close to Haru, and this is a very sad moment for them all.
After the sadness that just made this story more emotional than shady, we now see Lumi visiting Yuta with his lunch. She tells him that there should be enough food to last for a while, which makes sense because Yuta will be gone for at least 2 or 3 days. Yumi is a bit upset that her lover boy is leaving town, but Yuta doesn't really want to just sit there and do nothing. He needs to learn as much as he can about the god of deep jealousy, and going to the shrine is his best bet to get that information. Lumi knows this, but she is concerned that our hero is going alone. Yuta reminds her that she and the other girls will need to stay back and protect the town, especially now that they are down one member. It's best for him to be the only one in danger if things were to go sour. At this very moment, Lilia enters the room all happy and joyful to meet her lover boy. She says that the girls are throwing him a farewell party, so he should come to Misaki's roof right now. Yuta is a bit surprised to learn this, but he obliges and heads over to the roof where all the girls are waiting for him. He's quite impressed with the arrangements as there's grilled sweet fish on the menu as well. Lumi tells him that there are tree nuts as well, but the only nut Yuta is interested in is the liquid kind. Now, Misaki tells our hero that she would very much prefer it if he stayed with the girls in town. However, she's aware that Yuta is pretty much set in his ways on going to the shrine, and he explains that there's only so much his elephant can do to save girls via mating. After all, he's not like Kurosaki from Astro King who has an unlimited supply of nut cream. Yuta will not be satisfied until he saves all the girls of this world and removes the curse that made things so messed up in the first place. Momo is a bit surprised that Yuta is not considering the obvious danger over here. He is going up against a god whom nobody has ever heard of in over 3,000 years. However, our hero is not too bothered on that front because nothing seems to be able to handle his presence as a man, not even the Kali monsters. As a matter of fact, this world is on easy mode for our hero because no monster can harm him, and all the girls lose their minds just by touching him. The spread is in his favor, so he feels it's his responsibility to make light work of the enemy god and come back as the true king of this world. However, even he knows that it's nowhere near as easy as he's making it sound. On that note, Misaki brings out a bottle of booze and says that it's time to send off our hero with laughs and smiles. The name of this drink appears to be mead, and Misaki says that if you drink this, then it is believed you will eventually find your way home. Now, all the girls raise a toast to Yuta and his hopefully triumphant return to town. As they drink to their heart's content, the girls start to feel the effects of the mead almost instantly. The girls seem to find this extremely delicious, but Yuta is still a bit skeptical, so he confirms that this is just booze. Of course, the girls don't know what booze is, so they tell him it's mead. Yuta then realizes that he has no need to worry about alcohol and social restrictions because he's anyway gone past all that by doing shady things to all the girls. After taking his first sip, even Yuta is shocked as to how good it tastes. And then Lumi reveals that they only save this drink for special occasions. The drinking continues, and soon enough, Yuta finds himself a bit too intoxicated by the mead. He once again asks if this is pure alcohol, but it's not like the other girls are in their senses either. Lumi repeats that this is not alcohol, but rather mead, although it's pretty much the same thing. Now, Lilia smacks our hero's head with the bottle and tells him that it's not even over yet. She gets upset, thinking that her lover boy does not like her mead, but her breath reeks of booze, so Yuta points it out. The madness continues, but then Yuta takes a look at Misaki, who is crying over his departure. She tells him that she does not want him to leave at all, and then she starts crying like a rowdy drunk. Our hero realizes what's going on, but before he can offer any consolation to Misaki, Lumi approaches him from behind, but not to peg him. Instead, she holds a knife to his neck and asks him which of the girls he prefers the most. She will not accept a delayed response, which makes Yuta wonder how effective this mead really is. Lilia joins in on this, and both the girls argue over who Yuta likes better. Of course, our hero is in no mood to discuss this, and it leads to a rather hilarious situation. Emotions run high, and then Misaki decides to just step in and lock lips with her lover boy, rather than arguing with the other girls. She tells him that she was brought into this world for the sole purpose of mating with her lover boy, and even goes on to declare that Yuta does not need to be in love with her. This is extreme submission and a lot more than any pick-me girl would normally do. Misaki goes on to say a lot of shady things, so Yuta tells her to stop drinking before all her intrusive thoughts erupt out of nowhere. He tells Misaki that she will be pretty embarrassed after sobering up, so she should watch what she says. Momo adds to this by saying Yuta's only redeeming quality is that he is a man, but we all know she's just trying to act tough. She finishes her drink and compares our hero to mating machine, after which she says it's time to get shady. Of course, Yuta does not appreciate being treated like a living turkey baster, but it's too late to escape the clutches of the shady girls now. He realizes that immediately as Lilia attacks his elephant with the new and improved tongue twister 9000 Hawk Tua Deluxe. She even makes a cute face while doing such a shady thing, so our hero admits that Lilia is way too good at this. After one release, Lilia thanks her master for dessert, but this only kicks off a shady chain of events as Lumi starts to lose control as well. She gets ready to do the unspeakable, but Yuta wonders if everyone has forgotten that he is about to set out on a god-ending quest. Lumi basically has a waterfall dripping out of her kitty cat right now, so she tells her lover boy that she can't control herself anymore. Our hero once again asks her if she even knows what his mission is going to be, but then Lilia tells him to have some more mead. After all, he can't keep shooting unless he stays well hydrated, but Yuta is not sure what kind of shooting he should be doing in the first place. Plus, it's not like drinking mead is going to hydrate him either, but he figures he might as well go with the flow just like any other man of culture. However, after taking another sip, Yuta passes out, so the girls comment that their master is a lightweight when it comes to booze. Lumi then says that there's not much to be done with Yuta when he's asleep, so they should just make the most of what they have right now. This effectively means that the girls are going to have their way with him while he's knocked out, which would normally be considered a crime, but should be treated as divine salvation. Our hero wakes up to the shadiest sight imaginable and wonders if he is having a shady dream. However, this is not a dream, but rather what happens after you step into Heaven's Gate, so Yuta goes ahead with an extreme session. This is a rather long session, so even the narrator has to take a break to collect his thoughts. Yuta eventually admits that he really must be in heaven to be experiencing such a thing. This session goes on for way too long, and in all honesty, it should have been me. Anyway, after what felt like an eternity, the new day has come and so has everyone else, that too multiple times. The time for Yuta to leave has finally arrived, and as expected, none of the girls are pleased by this. Our hero comments that if this was a visual novel, this would be where he'd be getting a bad ending. Little does he know that there are thousands of men wishing they had gone to this world instead of him. Either way, he tells the girls goodbye as he must embark on his new journey. Our hero tells his girls that he will be seeing them soon, and they should take care of themselves, but the looks on their faces suggest that they don't want him to leave at all. Misaki asks once again if Yuta really has to go, so he tells her that it would be a big waste if the only man of this world just sat around mating all day. Also, he had promised Haru that he would put an end to the curse, so he will not go back on his word. Misaki understands his intentions, so she says that she will not stop him from achieving his goals. After all, he is the only one with the power to change this world. Misaki knows Yuta is the right man for the job, but then Momo says that nobody will complain if he just chooses to stay here and mate with them all day. She calls our hero a fool for risking his life, but he simply says that men have always been fools trying to protect women since the days of evolution. He then explains that the people of his world are nothing more than keyboard warriors trying to be woke all the time, but he can't afford such limited thinking in a world where he is the only man. After all, it has always been a man's job to protect women. Otherwise, the human race would have never survived for as long as it has. Yuta states that if the road ahead is dangerous, then it makes more sense for him to keep going. Momo is upset to hear this, but she knows our hero is right. Now, Lilia tells Yuta that he should just come back to her, and the tears in her eyes suggest she is really trying hard to be strong. She becomes emotional and says that she won't be able to mate anymore if Yuta doesn't come back. But this only makes him wonder if mating is the only thing on Lilia's mind. Lumi, on the other hand, can't stop crying, so Yuta simply tells her that he will be leaving now. She tells him that he has to make it back, no matter what, but her emotions seem to get the better of her. Lumi cries aggressively and apologizes for making this so dramatic for Yuta, but then she drops to the floor and continues crying her lungs out. She tells Yuta to leave, but Misaki can't just stand there and watch this. Lumi, on the other hand, can't stop crying, so Yuta simply tells her that he will be leaving now. She tells him that he has to make it back, no matter what. Misaki telling Lumi to go with Yuta is a pretty strange thing, as this would reduce the quintet down to just 3 girls, being Misaki, Lilia, and Momo. However, Misaki says that our hero is not at all familiar with the territory over here, so it would be safer if Lumi could guide him through the whole thing. Yuta agrees with her logic, but is not too sure if leaving the girls one fighter short is the best thing to do. Misaki says that will not be a problem for her at all, as she has already made the call for 2 more guardian soldiers from the castle. She is confident that the measure will be approved soon, so there is no need to worry for Yuta or Lumi. Momo looks at Misaki and asks her why she had requested for 2 guards instead of 1, but she says that she had anticipated sending one of them with Yuta. Lumi still can't believe it, so she asks her leader if it is really okay for her to go. Misaki tells her that Yuta is irreplaceable as the only person who can change and save this world for a better future. This means Lumi will have to do everything in her power to protect him, even if it means having to sacrifice her life. She asks Lumi if she is prepared to do such a thing, and this makes her eyes light up. Seeing this is more than enough for Misaki, so she officially entrusts our hero's safety to Lumi, although Momo does seem to be a bit suspicious about the whole thing. Now, Yuta leaves with Lumi, but he reminds his girls that this is not goodbye forever, as he will surely return for them without fail. He officially bids farewell to his harem girls with Lumi for company, and it does look like the other 3 girls are going to miss their lover boy and his elephant. Both parties wave at each other in an extended sequence to highlight the emotions at play, but eventually, the gate is shut and they get separated. Now that Yuta has finally left, we see Lilia, who breaks down into tears over his departure. She sits down on the ground so that she can cry to her heart's content, as she surely loves Yuta as much as Lumi. Now, Momo turns to Misaki and exposes the fact that she had actually called for a second guardian so that she could go with Yuta and not Lumi. Misaki admits the truth, but reveals that she simply could not do such a thing after seeing Lumi crying so much. Misaki herself breaks down into tears, as she is no less when it comes to loving our hero, and Momo comments on how ironic the whole thing is. Now, Misaki looks to the sky and hopes that Yuta succeeds in his mission to save this world. After all, nothing would be better than to live in a place where you don't have to cry like this. And so, our hero kicks off the main mission he has placed upon himself in this story. Some time passes by as Yuta and Lumi make their way through the forest, and then they come across a spot where a strong howl can be heard. Lumi's mood seems to drop all of a sudden, so Yuta asks her why she is feeling this way. She reveals that she knew each of the other girls wanted to go with him just as badly as she did, and yet she was the only one who could not hold back her tears. She feels guilty for her actions now, and feels that her own selfishness is what has gotten her here. Yuta is not too bothered by this and instead says that he knows of a way to get over it. Lumi does not get it, so our hero explains she needs to make sure she is fulfilling a purpose while being here. This means doing something which only she can perform, which is enough to justify her presence here. Lumi wonders what this exclusive task is, and then she realizes that she is much stronger than the average woman of this planet. Yuta does not get it at all, because the only physical skill he has seen from her is when she likes to get her freak on. Lumi reveals that her source of strength is not just her kitty cat or squishy pillows, and asks Yuta to remember the time she got rid of the lizard monster when they first met. Yuta is not falling for that, as he reveals he was the one who softened the monster up for her. He then makes Lumi remember the time she was about to get violated by the Call monsters but got saved by him just in time. She counters that it could not be helped as everyone was surrounded by the monsters at the time. Yuta calls her out by saying she was going to get violated a second time as well, so her strength is really not that reassuring to him. As expected, this makes Lumi upset, so she says that she will not help Yuta at all if he is going to be this way with her. Our hero states that it's rather surprising for Lumi to have given up so easily, and also to forget why she has come here in the first place. He reminds her of what Misaki said about staking her life to keep him safe, and this makes Lumi a bit conscious. Yuta then reveals that he never really counted on Lumi's fighting strength in the first place. He is simply going to count on her as an outlet for stress relief when he gets in the mood. Normally, this would attract the wrath of some very angry feminists, but Lumi is actually happy to be used this way and lights up like a lamp. She even says that she will do her best to serve her master, even though Yuta reveals that he was just joking with her. However, it was the most proactive response he has gotten from Lumi this entire trip, so it does count for something. He tells her to move on, but Lumi is definitely embarrassed about having her intrusive thoughts exposed this way. It's nighttime now, and the couple sits by a fire to keep themselves warm. Our hero comments that the ember rocks are really useful for keeping a flame alive, and Lumi adds that even the smallest ones can get the job done. Yuta is unsure of setting camp in the open as he is not too sure if this place is safe. He asks Lumi for her opinion, but she states that in an area like this, there is nothing that can be called safe. It's not what our hero wants to hear, but Lumi reassures him that relatively, this is a lot better as there are no monsters around. She then says it's pointless to worry about such things because fate will happen regardless of how you feel about safety. Our hero tells us that he had simply assumed there would be a safe spot in the outdoors, but he now figures he is just used to living without fear. He comments on how humans generally have such blind faith in their abilities that they would even find someone to blame if there was a natural disaster. That is not the case in this world, though, where bad luck is more than enough for you to lose your life. He finds it hard to believe that it is Lumi of all people who has been chosen to be his guide through this difficult journey. It does beat traveling alone, so Yuta does not have any complaints. The couple gets done with their meal, so Yuta asks if they should go to sleep now. For some reason, this surprises Lumi because it's a bit too early for her. Our hero wants to know what's on her mind, so she reveals that since they're done eating, there could be some other things for them to do. Yuta is a man of culture like the viewers of Comic Guzzlers, so he knows very well what Lumi is trying to hint at, so he teases her by saying she was the one who claimed that she hated him earlier. Lumi blushes completely and says he's misinterpreting what she had said at the time. She then says that she wasn't going to ask to mate with our hero or anything like that, although the look on her face tells a completely different story. She then says that she will stay up and keep watch so that Yuta can go to sleep first. She will switch with him later, and our hero has no problem with that at all. He goes off to sleep and some time passes by in the night, but it's not too long before Lumi's intrusive thoughts take over her body. Yuta can smell a rich, fruity scent, which can only mean one thing in this world. It turns out that Lumi is secreting a waterfall and she is using the tongue twister 9000 on her master's elephant. From the look on her face, she clearly seems to be having a good time, although performing such acts on someone who is sleeping would put you in the same category as Diddy. Of course, our hero is a total Giga Chad, so he is not affected by this at all. As a matter of fact, he had actually expected Lumi to start nibbling on his nuts and playing with his trunk. He decides to let it happen while also enjoying the view of the starlit sky. Some would even say that Yuta is experiencing heaven. It should have been them instead of him. Eventually, Yuta decides to let out his elephant water so that Lumi can get a taste, and she gulps it down like boba tea. She finds it delicious and comments on how she was finally able to taste it despite having been a part of several group sessions with the other girls. Yuta still can't believe that Lumi finds his elephant water to be so delicious, so he wonders if the women of this world have taste buds that simply work that way. Of course, it makes life a whole lot better for men like him, because only a fool would try to avoid this kind of lifestyle. Our hero pretends to be asleep, so Lumi is glad he did not find out about her turning into the diddler. She actually takes it to a whole other level by saying she can proceed to mate with Yuta if he is still asleep. This is the kind of stuff that would make it to the Epstein list, so our hero decides he'd rather not have Lumi turn into a predator. He yawns to suggest he is waking up, but she is not able to adjust herself in time. Yuta finds her right in front of his face, so Lumi explains that he should not be sleeping with his shirt open, as he can catch a cold this way. Of course, a guilty candidate will reveal everything right off the bat, and Lumi starts to act suspicious by outright telling Yuta she wasn't trying to mate with him. That's the first sign of guilt, and it does not matter if Lumi says she doesn't care about Yuta's elephant. Our hero actually doesn't mind Lumi getting her freak on with him, and he does not understand why he is letting her panic so much over it. He then tells her that she can go ahead and violate him as he is fully refreshed, which confuses Lumi for a second. We can only assume what unspeakable acts followed after this, and then we shift to the next day where the couple has come across yet another giant path on the way to their destination. Yuta laments that there is no other way to navigate around this planet other than walking. After all, he was a commuter kid back in Japan, and walking for 3 days straight will be a bit too much for him. Lumi says that if they're lucky, they will find a unicorn to ride, but they're not exactly a common sight around here. She then offers to carry her lover boy, who is actually quite light, judging from his frame. However, Yuta reminds her that she will turn into a living water fountain if she does so much as even touch him. He does not want her legs turning to jelly, but Lumi only gets more upset over hearing such teases. Suddenly, the joking is cut short when the ground around them starts to shake in aggressive fashion. Our hero does not know what is going on, so he asks Lumi if she knows how to get out of this mess. Instead, she just says that they have run into a new load of bad luck. At this very moment, the hills are separated by what looks like a giant golem monster. Naturally, our hero is shocked by what he is seeing, but Lumi seems to know what this creature is supposed to be. She looks at its face, which has a human resemblance, and reveals that it is called a Terra Golem. The monster takes a look at Yuta, and it looks like our hero's image is making it aggressive. The Terra Golem raises his fist and launches an attack on Yuta, but he is luckily able to dodge it in the nick of time. He is still somewhat injured, so he turns to Lumi and tells her they have to run away. Of course, there's no way he believes that anybody can stand a chance against the Terra Golem, but Lumi is not going to leave. She states that they can't run away because there is no other route leading to their destination. Yuta asks her what she proposes to do if that is the case, so she takes out her sword and tells him that he should just stand back and watch as she takes this monster down. Naturally, our hero wonders if Lumi has lost her mind and is thinking of herself as some kind of superhero. He once again tells her that they can't defeat the Terra Golem and will have to run away from the scene. Lumi still insists that Yuta should calm down and watch her in action in a way that does not include shady activities. The golem is massive, but Lumi's determination is even more powerful. The monster does not seem to be interested in the curvy babe though, as his eyes continue to fall on Yuta and fill him with rage. Our hero is clueless as to why he is being attacked, so he focuses on dodging the attacks being launched at him. It's definitely a hectic sequence, as the Terra Golem does not stop targeting Yuta, meaning he has to dodge an entire series of punches and smashes to keep himself alive. He does a good job of showcasing his abilities, but he starts to get tired, so Lumi asks him if he is alright. Yuta catches on quickly, so he tells Lumi to figure if the Terra Golem is only aiming for him at this point. Another attack follows, and our hero dodges it yet again, but only by the smallest of margins. This is completely different for Yuta because up until now, he was only used to the call monsters running away from him. In this case, it's the total opposite as he is the sole target of the Terra Golem. There's no time to wonder about what may happen now, so Yuta acts fast and realizes he might as well use himself as bait to trick the golem into a trap. He taunts the monster with his words, and instructs Lumi to run through the gulch while he keeps it distracted. She says such a tactic is not going to work, but this conversation has caught Yuta off guard, so the Terra Golem grabs him with his hand. Our hero can't believe he let his own guard down, but he is also amazed by how fast this monster can move. Of course, compared to its size, Yuta is nothing more than a tiny ant, so he shouldn't really be getting so surprised. He realizes he would never have been able to outrun it, and now he is in a spot of bother. The Terra Golem tries to crush our hero, but then Lumi decides it's time to make herself useful. After all, she was the one who distracted Yuta, leading to his capture. She reveals to us that the Terra Golem's weak point is the third rune from the left on its forehead, which would actually have been a lot more helpful if she had said it right at the beginning of the battle. Lumi gives it her all and launches a finisher blow on the Terra Goblin, causing it severe distress. Luckily enough, the Terra Golem disintegrates as its weak point is actually quite self-destructive. It doesn't take long for the monster to be gone with the wind, and then we are left with Yuta and Lumi by themselves again. Lumi asks her master if he is hurt anywhere, but the pain definitely seems to be coming from within rather than anywhere else. Yuta says that he is ashamed of himself. So Lumi asks if it's because he had to rely on a girl to save him. She then says that she was only able to jump to the top of the golem's head because Yuta got caught due to her own distraction. Lumi tries to make it sound like the both of them got this win, but our hero is not concerned with the technicalities. He reveals he is ashamed because he started to think he was the Top Gun like Tom Cruise, just because he is the only man in this world. Yuta does have main character energy, but he should not get so arrogant in a world he knows nothing about and has only been living in for a few days. Our hero states that it's really embarrassing and humiliating for him to have put himself in such a dangerous situation, so he should start acting more carefully if he is to remain alive and save this world. Now, he looks at Lumi and says sorry for making fun of her strength yesterday. With everything said and done, she is the one who saved his life, so he thanks her for it. Lumi is overjoyed to hear this, and she bursts into tears of joy because of Yuta's words. She celebrates as well by telling Yuta he must be glad he brought her along for the trip. She also takes this chance to ask Yuta if he would like to reward her by mating with her. Of course, our hero does not mind mating with Lumi all the time as he is a healthy high school teenager himself, unlike Drake. Lumi is cute and curvy, so it only serves as extra motivation for Yuta to want to mate with her all the time. Lumi does not like to see her lover boy be so vulnerable, so she asks him to snap out of it and behave like a Chad. Yuta says that he's just reflecting on how mean he was to Lumi yesterday, so she decides to just mate with him to cheer him up and get her reward. This is definitely the life all men of culture dream of, and the sequence that follows only makes us more jealous of Yuta. Day and night, he and Lumi engage in shady activities, and then they make it a point to take regular breaks for quickies too. This also involves drinking tons of elephant water, so Lumi does not have to worry about being thirsty in the desert. While all of this may sound amazing, we also learn that due to all the mating, our hero and Lumi have not been able to make much progress. With so many pit stops for the sake of acting out intrusive thoughts, it's going to be a long journey for our hero. Lumi is actually in the mood again just by talking about it, so Yuta complies, but tells her she is the one who needs to put in the work this time. However, before they can continue with their debauchery, the couple notices a unicorn in front of them. This couldn't be better timing, so Lumi celebrates and rushes to the unicorn, hoping that it will let her and Yuta ride it in a family-friendly manner. Lumi tells us that unicorns are supposed to be super gentle, so she goes up to it and asks if it can take them to Lille. However, to everyone's surprise, the unicorn kicks Lumi without mercy and gallops away from the couple. Lumi can't believe this and wonders why the unicorn behaved this way around her. She has never seen anything like it before, but Yuta seems to have an answer. He reveals that unicorns are actually the type to prefer innocent and untouched girls as per the lore. Lumi wants to know if this is true, so Yuta explains how unicorns don't really like humans, but are fine with innocent girls, and will do anything that such girls will ask of them. Since Lumi has already given up her V-card, the unicorn only sees her as used goods, meaning this is the true based form of the mythical creature. Lumi still can't believe why unicorns would care about such a thing, especially when they used to be so nice to her back when she was untouched. All of a sudden, something else arrives to the scene, and it happens to be a bicorn, meaning a horse with two horns. Lumi prepares her sword and warns Yuta that these beasts are supposed to be really mean to humans. However, Yuta seems to have understood how these creatures work, so he doesn't panic at all as the bicorn comes to Lumi. Turns out that it actually likes her, and snuggles close to her body. Lumi is clueless once again as to why this is happening, so Yuta tells her that bicorns are more or less the opposite symbol of unicorns. Rather than innocent girls, they prefer shady girls with intrusive thoughts. This explains why it is giving so much love to Lumi, as she is the shadiest girl on the planet after the many sessions she has had with Yuta. She gets emotional and hugs the bicorn for finally acting like a gentleman around her. She then asks Yuta how he has information about these things, So he reveals that his dad used to play all kinds of fantasy games. One such game was a tabletop RPG, which he made Yuta play with him ever since he was a kid. Of course, none of this would have made any sense to Lumi, but we get it. Anyway, the focus is that the couple has a ride now, so they both get on top of the bicorn and head towards their destination. The creature is a lot faster than Yuta had expected, so he asks Lumi to make it slow down. However, she herself is keen to make it before sundown, so she continues with the racing. It doesn't take long for her and Yuta to finally make it to Lille, and she happily shows the sight to her lover boy. Now, we move to a rather amazing view, but only if you are below a certain height. A little child is talking about being hungry, but she is told to stop with her complaining. The woman who possesses this amazing view says that their friends should be back from fishing soon, so the child can eat once they arrive. The little girl is sick of having fish all the time, so she asks for something new. The guard girl simply says that it is a luxury the people of this land cannot get. She adds that they will change stations soon, so the little girl will just have to hold out until then. The girl is upset and says that nobody ever shows up here, regardless of who is keeping watch, and the guard girl agrees with her, but maintains that she still has to do her duty. The guard girl, whose name is revealed to be Tia, says that it is their job to keep a watch on the outside so that they can protect the folks of the city from any danger. The little girl gets it, but she adds that Tia always takes things very seriously. Suddenly, Tia notices something odd and points out that something has just shown up. It turns out to be none other than Yuta and Lumi on the bicorn galloping towards the gate. The little girl is amazed by this and asks if the bicorn is some kind of guardian unicorn. Tia knows what it actually is, so she asks the little girl to take a closer look. They realize that the horse is actually a bicorn, which should be impossible due to its aggressive nature with innocent girls. The little girl can't believe it, as there is no way anyone can ride a bicorn in this world. Tia acts fast and hops off the watchtower to land just like a superhero. She looks up to see who has arrived, and is rather surprised to see Lumi on top of the horse. Both the girls seem to know each other, as they call out their respective names as well. Tia is surprised to see her, but it's actually more of a shocker to her. Of course, Tia has a very neutral look on her face, so Lumi jokes she doesn't look like it at all. Tia asks Lumi how she is riding a bicorn, but she can't reveal the truth, so she only says that it's a very nice horse. Tia can't believe it, so she has to see for herself and pushes her hand towards the bicorn. Of course, the guard girl still hasn't lost her V card, so the bicorn reacts aggressively towards her. Surprisingly, Tia's expression remains the same despite being flustered. She then turns to Lumi and asks her how exactly this bicorn is nice and friendly. Lumi has to play dumb and simply acts surprised that the horse is exhibiting such wild behavior. Our hero, on the other hand, has realized that Tia is a peachy fruit who is ripe for the picking. Tia then turns to Yuta and asks who he is, so he replies with his name, but in his normal manly voice. Lumi has to remind him that he can't reveal his true identity yet, and then she pushes him to eat the voice-changing candy. Tia reveals that she is the guardian posted here, but our hero is only interested in her choice of minimal clothing. Anyway, he reveals that he is from the town of Mais and mentions that he and Lumi have come here to learn about something important. Tia says that they can hear about it once the two of them have settled in, but it's hard not to lay eyes on that curvy body of hers with her choice, or rather lack of attire. Lumi hugs the bicorn once again and thanks him for his help, so Tia is tempted to check if it is still friendly towards her. She puts her hand out once again, but it is of no use as the horse reacts aggressively towards her once again. Tia is very confused, although her expressions remain the same, and she turns to Lumi to ask her how she got the bicorn to like her. Lumi is a bit clueless here, but our hero lets his intrusive thoughts take over and offers to teach Tia the way to let the bicorn allow her on top of it. Of course, this means tons of shady activities, so Lumi has to tell Yuta to calm his hormones down. She scolds him for being so eager to mate and also asks if she is not enough for him. Yuta activates Giga Chad mode and tells her there is no point in only mating with her. Of course, Lumi does not understand what he means by this, so Yuta has to explain that all the Guardians are aged 18 and above, which makes them safe for our hero, but not preferable for Drake. Yuta adds that they have no idea when the moonfall phenomenon may befall Tia, so he must save her with his elephant and shady skills. Lumi only becomes more upset upon hearing this, but Tia ignores their words and asks to open up the gate. The couple enters the town now, and Yuta is totally blown away by what he sees. It's like a tropical island of sorts where everyone is living like some kind of tribe. It is a properly functioning society of cute and curvy babes wearing the same things that Tia is wearing, so at this point, Yuta is living a life filled with cheat codes. Once again, our hero says wow to remind us how lucky he is and how jealous he is making us. Effectively, Lille is like a seaside town, and everyone is used to wearing light clothing to cope with the heat. Yuta himself is feeling quite hot, especially when he looks at all the babes around him. It has taken him and Lumi 3 days to get here, but the climate is already so vastly different that it's difficult for him to keep up. He then asks Tia if it's fine for him to go for a swim, as he's been traveling for a long time without taking a bath. Tia says he can go ahead, so our hero proceeds to take off his shirt, but then Lumi smacks his head with her sword. Yuta gets angry and asks what's wrong with her, but she asks him if he has lost his mind. She reminds him that if he takes off his shirt, then everyone will notice that he is a flat screen, which will suggest he is a man. Yuta steps up for all the flat screen girls of the world and says that he will simply say he does not have massive pillows. Lumi then asks about his elephant downstairs, but Yuta states that he will not take his pants off. Lumi is still scared that her lover boy's elephant will rise to salute all the cute and curvy girls around him. So the argument continues, but Tia still has no idea what they are talking about. In the middle of all this, a girl slips and falls on Yuta, but our hero can't afford to touch her due to his shady powers, so he allows the girl to fall flat on her face. The girl's name is revealed to be Hannah, and Tia asks her if she is okay. Hannah makes a cute face and says it hurts, but with that curvy body of hers, it hurts comic guzzlers men of culture not to be there with her. Tia turns to Yuta and scolds him for having a cold heart. He has a big build for a woman, so he could have easily caught Hannah, but Yuta can't exactly explain to her that he would have turned Hannah into a thirsty kitty had he touched her. Hannah looks up and sees Lumi, after which we learn that they know each other as well. They greet each other, and then Lumi introduces Yuta to Hannah, but our hero is surprised to see how everyone knows everyone here. Now, Lumi introduces Hannah as a member of Lille's Guardian Trident. Of course, Hannah is still upset over Yuta avoiding her, so she gives him a cute look. Our hero changes the subject and notes that if there is a trident, that means there are 3 such girls in this town. That makes sense, given it's a lot smaller in size, and Lumi adds that the Guardian girls are all dispatched through Mise, meaning they happen to pass through the same point, thus explaining how most of them know each other. Yuta asks where the 3rd girl is, and we learn her name is Pinako. Tia is surprised that Pinako is not here, and that's when we see the little girl from earlier who has gone to report to someone. This person happens to be none other than Pinako, who learns about the couple riding a bicorn. The little girl looks a bit concerned as she explains the situation to Pinako, but the Guardian girl seems to be very calm about the whole thing. She also shocks us all by stating a man has finally arrived into this world. If this is the case, she needs to inform the god of jealousy immediately, implying that she is going to play a big role moving forward. Now, we shift to Yuta and the girls who are just chilling by the beach as if they are in Ibiza. Our hero is the most relaxed he's ever been as this place feels truly divine to him. He says that all he would need right now is a nice, cold drink, but sadly there are no refrigerators in this place. Yuta mocks the primitive folks of this land, but Lumi has no idea what he is talking about. Now, Yuta takes a look at Lumi, who is dressed in a rather alluring outfit. He asks her why she had chosen to wear something so tempting, but she doesn't get his shady intentions. She simply says that she switched clothes due to it being hot out here. Our hero laments that he can't even risk taking his shirt off, but his mind is going crazy looking at Lumi in this kind of attire. He even states that it looks a lot more exciting than when she is completely in her birthday suit during mating time. Seeing Lumi like this awakens the evolved version of Yuta's intrusive thoughts, making him want to ravage her even more and bury himself inside her pillows. Yuta comments that it's a rather strange phenomenon because once everything is off, he gets lost in Lumi's pointers anyway. But it's the tease that has most of the appeal. Suddenly, someone calls out to Lumi from behind, and it happens to be Pinako, who is wearing some really weird glasses. Yuta is terrified of that look and he does not seem to be at ease. So Pinako asks him what's up. He simply comments on her glasses, leading her to confess that she just needed them to counter the sun today. Pinako is quite cute herself, but our hero pays attention to the fact that she is wearing sunglasses, which is a relatively modern invention. Anyway, our hero reveals his name to her and states that he has come from Mai's. But once he makes his introduction, Pinako seems to pause for a second. Yuta exercises caution, especially since he only has Lumi with him, so he asks Pinako about the god of deep jealousy in front of the other girls. She says that she has never heard of such a person, and neither do the other girls, so it does feel a bit suspicious to our hero. He then asks the girls if they die when they reach the age of 20, but he made a mistake here as the girls don't know that he is a man. They wonder why he is only referring to them as if he won't die at the age of 20, and now Yuta has to come up with an excuse. He manages to brush this off, but realizes that he will need to use his big brain energy from now on if he is to gain the girls' favor. Our hero explains that he learned about this god from the bird god Genius. He then reveals that there is a way to avoid moonbreaking, but he does not mention the part that involves elephants and kitties. He refers to ending the god of deep jealousy, which will save every single girl on this planet. The girls believe that this would be ideal, but Pinako is the imposter, so she ridicules the idea, stating somebody would have already done it if it were true. Lumi now mentions the shrine of the god of deep jealousy, to which the girls mention a shrine at the end of the cape. However, it sank into the sea 100 years ago, and it would be impossible for humans to dive into it. Yuta laments that his efforts may have gone to waste, but then Tia mentions the god of Leal named Riru, who may have some information on this. Our hero wants to know where this Riru is, but to his disdain, even this god is deep in the sea, and only shows up sometimes, meaning he has to play a waiting game. Lumi asks him to be patient and exercise some control, after which she and Yuta enjoy the view outside. Naturally, Lumi lets her intrusive thoughts take over, and presents her kitty cat to Yuta. Our hero is a bit concerned over others seeing them, but since there's no one around, it's time to bring out the python. The shady session begins, and Lumi enjoys it so much that she can do this all the time until that Riru god shows up. In a hilarious moment, the god indeed shows up, asking if he was being called for. He is in the form of a dolphin, which makes this world even more interesting. Of course, Yuta can't believe this because dolphins are not known to fly. However, Riru says that he has appeared because they called for him, and this is no way to talk to a god. Riru gets offended and leaves, but Yuta calls him back. The god demands respect, so our hero refers to him as Riru-sama and asks an important question. However, Riru gives them a super shocker by revealing the god of deep jealousy to have died a while back. It's time to move to a short comic now, as we see a couple of girls being cornered by the Cal monsters. Things are not looking good for them, but suddenly some arrows come flying at the Cal beasts, and they get rid of one of them. The other monster is distracted by this, which allows Misaki to show up and end him while also farming aura. The one who fired the arrows is Lilia, so the girls are glad to have been rescued in time. The hero babes are welcomed back after a successful hunt, and the girls who got rescued tell Lilia that they also want to become guardians like her and Misaki when they grow up. They are both happy to hear this and even offer to train them when they are ready. As of now, Momo has gone to the castle, so it's just Lilia and Misaki right now to protect the town, so they have to behave as female Giga Chads. Misaki still says that she would feel a lot better with Yuta around, and this seems to do something to her as well as Lilia. With that, the girls bid farewell, but the moment Lilia is alone with herself, her kitty water starts pouring out. Lilia falls to the ground because even thinking about our hero is driving her crazy. Bro's riz is immeasurable as even Misaki is experiencing the same thing. The only thing these girls can think of is mating with Yuta, and it leads to some extremely shady actions. Lilia is a bit too crazy because she can't even explode now unless she has Yuta with her. The same goes for Misaki, who feels it was better not to have known Yuta, because then she wouldn't have craved him like this. The girls unleash the Finger Blaster 900 on themselves, and after some efforts, they are able to reach their explosions. The both of them scream out loud that they love Yuta, and once again the men of Comic Guzzlers are caught saying it should have been me, not him. Suddenly, Yuta is shown in an alert position, and it looks like he's getting the Tongue Twister 3000 from Lumi. She asks what's wrong, so he says he thought someone was calling out to him. Even Lumi started feeling guilty about something, but she shakes that feeling off to shake our hero's elephant some more. And with that, we end the bonus chapter. Now, we're back to Yuta and Lumi, who counter Riru by saying Genius had told them something else. However, he says that they should not really take the word of a lowly god like Genius. Apparently, the bird god is outdated, and the god of deep jealousy died around 600 years ago. Moon breaking did not change since then, so it was just a baseless rumor. With that, Riru goes back into the sea, but Yuta has some more questions to ask him. Sadly, Bro is left high and dry, so he falls into his bed as if he's asking what is love? Baby, don't hurt me. Lumi asks him not to be so depressed, but our hero really doesn't have anything else on his mind. He worries that mating with him may not save Lumi's life or any of the other girls too, because that could be a rumor as well. Lumi says it would be nice to live a bit longer, but there are other things to be worried about. Yuta can't accept this way of thinking, so he heads to the beach to cool his head a little. He realizes that Genius did mention his information could be wrong, and the dolphin god was right about what he said. This makes our hero wonder if he should just watch every girl pass away at the age of 20 or mate with them to provide comfort. We all know what true men of culture would do in such a situation, but Yuta realizes he still has one more lead, which is about the sunken shrine. Suddenly, he notices Hannah on the beach too, and she is looking like a total babe with big, soft pillows and a nice bottom. Yuta's intrusive thoughts take over, but he also realizes that Hannah has no need to be modest as the male gaze does not exist in this world. Only the Comic Guzzler's gaze. Hannah reveals that it's a record for the high tide right now, and explains how the sea sometimes blesses the island, but also takes lives. The one who don't return from fishing during such times are considered to be sacrifices, but Hannah's interest is in recording the tides, so that she can use that information for more efficient fishing. Yuta jokes that he thought all the nutrition went to her pillows just like Lumi, but then Hannah explains to us how she reads the waves through knots on a string. This is because written characters are lost and can't be deciphered, as the average lifespan is such that no one can carry on the teachings. Only Hannah can decipher the string knots, but that's as good as it gets. Yuta feels bad for Hannah, so he offers to teach her the characters of his world. She is confused, but then our hero does something super risky and reveals that he has come from another world. He then goes on to explain the concept of numbers to Hannah, and as expected, her mind is completely blown away. She has bad eyesight and no access to glasses, but even so, she is able to catch on quickly, even being able to add and subtract already. This means that Hana has big brain energy and big pillow energy, making her the perfect girl. Our hero even comments that Hana would turn out to be an honors student if she were born in Japan. Now, a big wave hits Hana, and she falls onto the sand. Yuta offers his hand to her, but quickly takes it back, making it look like a prank. He knows he can't have another thirsty girl after him, but Hana calls him mean for not helping her out. Our hero can't really give her a proper answer, but then he thinks about saving her life by mating with her. It's obvious for him to think like that when a total babe is right in front of him. Before he can act on those thoughts, Hana tells him that she may have actually seen the shrunken shrine. This is big news, especially when Hana says that there will be an extremely low tide that occurs once in 20 years, which will happen in 1 week. This is a lot to take in because Yuta just realizes that 20 years is the lifespan of the girls in this place too. There has to be some kind of crazy connection, so our hero has to make this count. It's starting to get a bit dark, so Hana suggests going back, as monsters have recently started appearing here. On that note, the both of them agree to head back, and we learn that Tia is preparing a big feast for our hero and Lumi to welcome them here. Hana waves goodbye and asks Yuta not to be mean to her. He waves goodbye as well and goes back to his hut, but finds Lumi on a solo mission inside. Yuta makes a funny face and turns around so that Lumi can finish what she started, but she explains that they were interrupted by the dolphin god earlier, which was why she was doing what she was doing. Our hero is not one to turn away from a kitty in need, so he obliges Lumi with a shady session. A lot of shoddiness follows, and Lumi experiences one explosion after the other. This keeps going on all night long, and it looks like the both of them are on some kind of marathon. Lumi does not seem to care about anything else in the world when she is with Yuta, which makes him wonder if this is really what she wants. Suddenly, Tia walks in on them, making this a really bad and awkward situation. However, Tia is completely unaffected, as she tells the couple that the food is ready, so they should get dressed and come over. Yuta can't believe that his secret is out, so he tells Lumi they need to keep Tia's mouth shut. However, Lumi says there is no cause for concern, because his elephant was hidden by her kitty when Tia walked in. However, they were in the middle of shady acts, so that must mean Yuta is male. This is when Lumi reveals something to our hero that all the men of culture at Comic Guzzlers must have been wondering for a while. We learn that women get involved with kitty-on-kitty action too, which should be obvious because this world has no men. Our hero is relieved that his secret is still safe, so he gets dressed for food. However, Lumi asks him not to be mean as she still wants more explosions. Yuta now mentions what Lumi said earlier about there being more important things than having a long life. He'd like to know what these things are, so Lumi begins her explanation. She says that even if her life can't be extended by being with our hero, at least he does not need to go on any further missions. This means she can spend more time with him, and that would be really nice for her. Yuta can't believe that Lumi would be fine with this, even if she has only a few years left, which she admits is a bit embarrassing. But then she explains that if her lover boy goes on all these dangerous missions to save the world, he would be putting his life at risk. This means that she could lose him, and she does not want that at all. Even if she lives till 60, there is no point in all those additional years if she can't be with Yuta. So basically, in her eyes, it's much better to live 1 year with Yuta than several others without him. This is some serious best girl behavior, and our hero can't believe that Lumi would have such strong feelings for him. This awakens the beast within, so Yuta proceeds to unleash the tongue twister 9000 on Lumi's lips. The shady activities begin once more, and Yuta promises that he will ensure Lumi stays alive at the age of 20. They get done with their session and finally step out for some food. They reach the dinner table and notice a lot of yummy food up for grabs. Tia reveals that there was a big catch today, so they might as well make the most of it. The group is about to do a toast, and while Yuta believes it's wine, but Hana says that mead is only used when someone leaves. Since this is a welcome party, they are having tea like fancy girls. With that, the whole group drinks their tea and goes on to enjoy their food. Yuta and Lumi can't believe that Tia has made the whole thing for them, and it's really delicious too. Our hero compliments her cooking and also says that it's the best thing he's eaten since coming to this world. Tia gives a serious expression, so he wonders if he said too much. But Hana says this is just Tia being embarrassed. Tia refuses this, but Hana reveals that her armpits start to sweat when she's embarrassed. Yuta can see that, but the Tia looks at Hana with rage, so she keeps quiet. Now, Panako would like to bring something up that Hana had told her, which is the fact that he's from another world. Lumi is shocked that Yuta would do such a thing, but he tells her it's fine to let them know he's from another world. Hana would like to know what kind of world this was, so he explains that it's the same as this one, with one major difference being half the population is male. There's also the fact that humans don't die at 20 there, which means that moonbreaking is not a thing on Earth. Yuta knows that even without medicine, people would at least live till 50 on Earth, so for girls to die at 20 here has to be some kind of artificial event. Hana agrees with his thinking because she noticed how such problems didn't exist in animals and other livestock. She personally believes it's a curse by the god of deep jealousy, but it's way more suspicious than that. This could all be some kind of conspiracy theory, but we don't know how much the girls want to dive into the rabbit hole. Speaking of which, Panako asks Yuta if he ended up meeting Riru, to which he reveals what he was told about the god of deep jealousy dying a long time ago. Panako now asks Yuta that if it's not possible to change the ways of this world, it would be a lot better if he just found a way to go back to his own world. Of course, she is forgetting the fact that no sane man would ever want to go away from such a parallel paradise. Our hero also adds that Hana told him about the low tide happening 1 week from now, so that's his last chance to see the shrine and figure out something in the middle of this whole mess. Now, Yuta is done with his food, and he specifically praises the lobster as well as the prawn. He appreciates Tia once again by saying he's glad he came to this world so that he could at least taste her food. She tries to act cool by saying all these excessive words aren't appealing to her, but the sweat on her armpits says a different story. The meal is done with and everyone leaves now except for Tia, who has to do the dishes. She remembers what Yuta told her about her cooking and reveals to us that she has got one good memory now in her life. As a matter of fact, she is so happy that she will dedicate the prawn dance to our hero's name. She then goes on to perform this goofy prawn dance, which is a bit too funny to watch. What's even more hilarious is that Yuta walks in on her dance, which makes this a funny scene for everyone. Tia tries to remain calm, but her armpits give her away once again, leading Yuta to lament that it's very easy to read her emotions. He offers to clean the dishes with her, since there were 5 people eating together. Tia says guests shouldn't do this, but our hero insists. Plus, Lumi is asleep, so his elephant can rest for a bit too. However, there is no rest for intrusive thoughts as Yuta notices that Tia has a curvy body as well. Our hero tries to control himself and shift back to the topic of Tia's cooking. He realizes that she is getting nervous again, as she says that she enjoys eating tasty food, so she also enjoys cooking it. She then laments that she can't be a good wife here because there are no men around to marry her. She still wonders what life will be like if she could cook for the one she loves and hear his praises every day. Yuta comforts her some more by saying her husband would love her a lot. In the middle of all this, Yuta curs himself, so Tia asks to take a look at it. Our hero panics and tells Tia not to touch him, so she says he shouldn't be so rude about it. Yuta says that he's not mad, but he can't exactly explain why he doesn't want to get shady with her so randomly. After all, his elephant water and her kitty water could make a huge mess in the place where she's supposed to cook meals. Yuta wonders if he should try to mate to save her life, even though he has no guarantee of it now. However, something more important needs to be attended to. A little girl shows up at the shore of the beach, so Yuta wonders what she is doing here. The situation is a lot more dire, because upon closer inspection, he notices that this little girl has blood on her hands. Our hero approaches her and asks if she is injured, because the girl has a sad look on her face. However, she tells him to leave her alone as she is seemingly out of time. We have no idea what she's referring to, as she runs away from the scene, but this story is definitely expanding beyond Riz and shady actions. Tia shows up and Yuta tells her about the girl, which does surprise her as well, but she tells our hero to go back to the hut, as there are monsters which come out at night. These scary beasts don't even spare kids, so it's best to be safe. Now, we move to the next morning where Pinako is seen chilling by the beach. Yuta and Lumi approach her, so she asks if they got some sleep. Yuta keeps his focus and tells her that he is going to be staying here right till the low tide happens. Till then, he'd like to see if there's something he can do to make himself useful. However, Pinako says that she would like him to get out of here as soon as possible since he is from another world. There is definitely some evil motivation behind this, and Pinako says Yuta is better off playing scissors with Lumi. Of course, she does not know he actually has a python, but that's besides the point. Pinako doesn't seem to change her mind, but neither is Yuta, so he decides to leave her be. Before that, he confirms that guardian girls are above 18, so that makes Pinako's appearance quite odd. She definitely fits Drake's category, but luckily, her age will keep her safe. Pinako seems offended because it's almost as if our hero is mocking her petite figure. After all, she does have a flat-screen TV. Yuta clarifies by saying he was referring to her entire body as a whole, but then again, she does have a flat-screen TV. Lumi tells him not to make it worse, but then a couple of girls come running to the scene to tell them that the girl named Pani has been attacked. Everyone gathers around, and Yuta is shocked to see how brutally her torso has been ripped off. Hana is there, and she starts crying because she had warned Pani against walking out in the beach at night. However, this sight makes Yuta suspect the little girl he saw last night, as her hands were covered in blood. He also remembers that this girl had a red ribbon, so he tells everyone that she is the imposter. The other girls are surprised to hear this because all this while, they thought it was a monster. It's still hard to believe, but Pinako points out that Yuta is talking just like the legend. This legend says that the monster may not be visible to the girls, but it does have a red ribbon. Apparently, this monster has been on the beach for hundreds of years and has attacked hundreds of people, but they can't do anything about it because they can't see it. Our hero still finds it very suspicious that a little girl could be a monster, but then Pinako tells him that he can get rid of this monster during the week he has to wait for the low tide. It's a big ask, but she maintains her statement and says that since Yuta is the only one who can see the beast, he should be the one to end it as well. At this point, it should be fairly obvious that Pinako is a villain, but nobody suspects anything yet. Later, we move to a shady cave where Pinako is in her birthday suit. She is talking to someone, and then we can see a shady character appear. Pinako says that she is willing to do anything for the Black Dawn, which is something we don't know of yet. The shady character almost looks like a man, so could it be that Yuta is not the only male on this planet? Is there a really big rabbit hole that's making this world function? There is so much at stake now, and the story is getting really interesting, so I know you're going to feel disappointed that we have reached the end of our video. Like, share, and subscribe if you liked seeing Yuta back in action. This manga has over 290 chapters, so if you keep supporting it, I'll keep posting it with added updates, such as the power and love of men of culture. Anyway, please support this video so I can continue Yuta's story, which is only getting more and more interesting as we move forward. Okay then, I'll see you in the next one.